Hey everyone, we've updated our channel name from Chinese Novel Audiobook to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Nothing else will be changing, we're still uploading a new video every day, bringing you the best Chinese novel audiobooks. Let's dive into today's story. Chapter 81, Pretending to be Xu Yining's lover. Yi Jiafeng furrowed his brows. With the talent of a 9th grade spirit root, entry into the heavenly mechanism pavilion would be more than enough. Entering the Green Cloud sect would naturally pose no problem. The issue was, elderly Qingfeng seemed unappreciative. He actually dispatched senior disciple Zhang Qian to test Jiang Fan. One had been cultivated in the Green Cloud sect for years, while the other had just made an emerging mark. The outcome of the contest was predictable. He said, "Young Master Jiang, do you need my assistance?" If necessary, he would personally visit the Green Cloud sect and report the news of the 9th grade spirit root to Lu Qingxian face to face. But going back and forth would waste a lot of time. "Thank you for your kind offer, City Lord, but I'd like to try it myself." Having achieved the first layer of the Wandering Dragon Palm, he was filled with confidence. Everyone gradually dispersed. On the way back to the mansion with her father, Yi Qingshe noticed he was continually sighing. Yi Qingshe asked in confusion, "Father, do you have something on your mind? Is it about the Zhang family?" Yi Jiafeng glanced at her, then sighed deeply again, "It's about you." "Me?" Yi Qingshe was bewildered. She had been independent since childhood, and though not exceptionally top level, her performance had been excellent, right? What was there for her father to worry about? "What's wrong with me?" Yi Qingshe asked, perplexed. Yi Jiafeng pulled the reins, gazing fixedly at Yi Qingshui's face and figure, sighing more heavily, "Are you any worse than Chen Silan? You have the looks, the figure, the status, your personality, speech, and knowledge are not inferior to Chen Silan's. But the concubine Jiang Fan accepted is Chen Silan, not you. If it were you, how great that would be." Although he had taken Chen Silan as a foster daughter, it couldn't compare to being a real father-in-law. Back when Chen Zhengdao, an 8th grade spirit root from Biliu City, ended up becoming the vice pavilion master of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. With Jiang Fan's 9th grade spirit root, how could he fare any worse? This was a chance to rise to the top in one leap. Unfortunately, his daughter did not have this fortune. Yi Qingshe widened her charming eyes in shame and anger. "Father, what nonsense are you talking about? How could I marry Jiang Fan and become a concubine? Not to mention, she only admired Jiang Fan without any romantic feelings. Even if there were, it would need careful consideration. After all, becoming a concubine required great courage." Seeing her reaction, Yi Jiafeng checked that no one was around, then lowered his voice to reveal the truth. "Jiang Fan is the 9th grade spirit root that Lu Qingxian has been searching for." "What?" Yi Qingshe was so shocked she almost fell off her horse, exclaiming in astonishment, "Father, don't say something so rash. How could the 9th grade spirit root possibly be Jiang Fan? That was a prodigy the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion had been searching for throughout the ages." Previously, Lu Zheng had already caused a tremendous blunder. They couldn't afford another joke like that. Yi Jiafeng said, "It's the absolute truth. Otherwise, do you think the Chen family gave up their century-old foundation in Lonely Boat City to marry their daughter to him as a concubine? Would I throw away my dignity to flatter Jiang Fan and take Chen Silan as a foster daughter?" One puzzling matter after another was instantly resolved. She gasped, her heart filled with astonishment. To marry such a person as a concubine, the Chen family was definitely aiming high. Suddenly, she thought of Xu Yining and couldn't help but sigh heavily. "Xu Yining, you." She didn't know what to say. A husband with a 9th grade spirit root, given to her sister. If she knew the truth, she would regret it to the point of suicide, wouldn't she? Suddenly, she remembered, "Oh no, I almost forgot. Xu Yining has arranged to meet with number 1 shadow guard and Jiang Fan." She turned her horse around and rushed to the Xu family. Yi Jiafeng frowned. "Keep an eye on them, both are Lonely Boat City's pride, don't let them fight. Losing either would be a loss for Lonely Boat City." Yi Qingshe twitched her lips, thinking that Jiang Fan was about to leave Lonely Boat City. There was no need to hide it any longer. Without looking back, she said, "Jiang Fan is number 1 shadow guard." "What?" Yi Jiafeng was dumbfounded. The renowned number 1 shadow guard was actually Jiang Fan himself. But upon further thought, it made sense. How else could such an impressive figure suddenly emerge? Xu family. Jiang Fan had just returned when he saw Xu Yining looking for him everywhere. Where have you been? My sister has been looking for you for ages. Jiang Fan questioned in surprise. Looking for me? Xu Yining said, yes, she even wants me to go together. She seems pretty anxious, but I don't know why. Only then did Jiang Fan remember. That morning, on Dragon Rising Path, Xu Yining asked number 1 shadow guard, himself, to come to the Xu family's backyard. The time was now. She said it was to prove something to someone she disliked. Now, she was so anxiously searching for him. This made Jiang Fan's forehead throb. What's with this woman? Have I offended her somehow? Hasn't she always been the one rejecting me over the years? I haven't even disliked her, yet she starts disliking me first. Utterly baffling. Xu Yining urged, stop asking. Change into something nicer and hurry up. Jiang Fan nodded. He went into the house, changed his outfit, put on number 1 shadow guard's mask, and quietly went ahead alone. He would not give Xu Yining the chance to strut proudly with her head held high. Having waited for long, Xu Yining, not seeing Jiang Fan, could only stamp her feet and went ahead herself. Xu family's backyard. By the pond, under the willow tree. Yi Qingshe, who had arrived in time, persuaded, Yining, stop this, or else. Xu Yining looked at her strangely, or what? Or Jiang Fan would be embarrassed, right? I noticed you started thinking of Jiang Fan. Could it be that you, like my sister, have fallen in love with him? Yi Qingshe was speechless. She wanted to prevent her from being embarrassed. Because number 1 shadow guard was Jiang Fan. But it was too late. Jiang Fan, as number 1 shadow guard, had already arrived. Seeing him, Xu Yining couldn't help but get nervous. You've arrived. Jiang Fan nodded slightly, standing nonchalantly by the side. After a while, Xu Yining came running, out of breath, and apologized. Sister, Jiang Fan hasn't returned yet. She could only find an excuse for Jiang Fan. Xu Yining was greatly disappointed. She needed to show off her relationship with number 1 shadow guard in front of Jiang Fan to satisfy herself. Sister, who is this gentleman? Xu Yining asked in surprise, looking at number 1 shadow guard with a strange mask. Xu Yining perked up. Jiang Fan not coming was fine. She would let Xu Yining relay the message. Xu Yining walked next to number 1 shadow guard, holding his arm and snuggling against his shoulder. Sister, let me introduce you. This is number 1 shadow guard, and you've seen our relationship. Xu Yining was shocked and moved. He is the famous number 1 shadow guard. Then she showed genuine admiration. Sister, you are so fortunate to be connected with such an excellent prodigy. With him, I am relieved. Xu Yining said proudly, naturally, I am so outstanding, my other half certainly won't be lacking. So, make sure you tell Jiang Fan not to harbor any grievances. It's not because I look down on him, but he truly isn't a match for me. Number 1 shadow guard Jiang Fan was speechless. Who harbored grievances? He didn't care at all, did he? Yi Qingshe discreetly glanced at Jiang Fan, embarrassed for Xu Yining, hugging Jiang Fan's arm and saying Jiang Fan isn't a match for herself. Oh heavens, if the truth comes out, you'll be so ashamed you'd want to die. And besides, Jiang Fan has a 9th grade spirit root. Who really isn't a match for whom? Xu Yining now understood that Xu Yining was showing off to Jiang Fan. She thought to herself, thank goodness Jiang Fan didn't come. Otherwise, this situation would deeply hurt him, right? A scene of rival meeting ended hastily because Jiang Fan did not show up. Xu Yining felt like she had punched a pillow of cotton. She tossed and turned all night, unable to sleep. Until the next day, a bird flew through the morning mist to the Xu family. Everyone was startled awake and got up promptly. They knew. The day that would decide Jiang Fan's fate had come. Chapter 82 Sparring. An entire sleepless night for Jiang Fan. He turned over and got out of bed. After a simple wash-up, he calmly went to the main hall. The main family members like Xu Zhengyan, Xu Yining, and Xu Yining were all present. Li Qingfeng sat with a tired expression. After days of searching for a 9th-grade spiritual route without success, he had no choice but to bring Xu Yining and Xu Yining back to the Green Cloud sect. Of course, he had not forgotten the promise he made to Jiang Fan. Today, he would give Jiang Fan a chance. As long as Jiang Fan could withstand 10 moves from Zhang Qizhen, whom Li Qingfeng had personally trained, he would take him back to the sect. Seeing the calm demeanor of Jiang Fan, he took a sip of tea and said, "Do you have confidence? If not, there is still time to give up now. Fists and kicks are blind. It's hard to guarantee Zhang Qizhen will not injure you during sparring." Jiang Fan glanced at Zhang Qizhen beside Li Qingfeng, whose eyes were sharp. Calmly, he wrote, reporting to Elder Li, "This junior has confidence." Such was his reply. Li Qingfeng was not surprised and sighed softly. Zhang Qizhen was trained by him personally, so he knew Zhang Qizhen's strength better than anyone else. Although both were at the Foundation Establishment 4th layer, the experience and techniques derived by oneself could never surpass those taught by an elder-level figure like him. Moreover, Jiang Fan was only at the Foundation Establishment 3rd layer. In the Foundation Establishment realm, even one level of difference was significant. He couldn't understand what chance Jiang Fan had to win. But since Jiang Fan wasn't willing to give up, letting him try might be better. It's just 10 moves at most, after all. Since that's the case, you two prepare yourselves. Zhang Qizhen had been waiting for this moment and stepped forward to the center of the hall. With a mocking glint in his eyes, he said, "You've been jumping around these days. Did you ever think of today? Show all your strength later. Otherwise, I worry that you won't even withstand one move." Hearing these words, Xu Yinin's heart leapt into her throat. Her stunning face showed deep worry and a hint of regret. Why hadn't she persuaded Zhang Qizhen better at the shop that day? Maybe he would have given Jiang Fan a bit of hope for the sake of their brother-sister relationship. Now, it was impossible for Zhang Qizhen to let Jiang Fan pass. No, the worry should be, would Zhang Qizhen seize this chance to be ruthless? Xu Yining was also filled with anxiety. He had heard about Jiang Fan taking a concubine from Xu Yining. The conflict between the two had reached an irreconcilable point. Hoping Zhang Qizhen would spare Jiang Fan seemed futile. They could only pray for Jiang Fan's safety. As for winning or losing, it was left to fate. Jiang Fan remained composed, silently writing, "You should worry about yourself instead. If you lose to me, you won't just lose face. Elder Li's reputation is at stake too." Seeing these words, Li Qingfeng raised an eyebrow and commanded sternly, "Zhang Qizhen, what have I taught you? Never underestimate any opponent, stay humble and cautious. Copy the insights I taught you 10 times when we return." Zhang Qizhen shivered, immediately bowing, "Yes, master." When he lifted his head again, his gaze towards Jiang Fan was full of intense anger. He gritted his teeth, wishing to slap Jiang Fan to the ground and stomp on his face. Li Qingfeng saw that the atmosphere was tense, and the sparring mood was set, so he nodded and declared, "Sparring begins." As his final word fell, Zhang Qizhen struck first. Utilizing the full 4th layer cultivation of Foundation Establishment, he performed the high blade technique at yellow level, taught personally by Elder Li. 5 Tiger's soul-breaking blade. With the support of his spiritual power, the surface of the golden blade emitted visible sword chi. An immense power capable of cutting gold and breaking stones. Even from a distance, Xu Yining felt a chill from the blade chi. Nervousness welled up within him. He feared Jiang Fan would not be able to withstand that blade. Xu Yining's tiny hands were tightly clasped together. Her knuckles turned white from exertion, and her rosy lips were clenched in extreme worry. Li Qingfeng nodded slightly, pleased with Zhang Qizhen's move. This was Zhang Qizhen's full-strength move. It seemed he didn't intend to give Jiang Fan any chance to pass the assessment. If Jiang Fan failed at the first move, it implied he couldn't even speak of entering the Green Cloud sect, right? Zhang Qizhen also smiled coldly. "Jiang Fan, why are you just standing there and not moving? Are you scared?" He noticed Jiang Fan had no intention of countering. Instead, Jiang Fan still kept his hands behind his back, looking very calm. He even had the time to write another note, "Is this your full-strength strike?" Much weaker than I expected. In Jiang Fan's view, the full-strength strike of a Green Cloud Peak disciple should be overwhelmingly strong. But in comparison, it wasn't even as strong as Nangong Luyun of the Dragon Rising Path. Nangong Luyun was only at the Foundation Establishment 3rd layer. Jiang Fan laughed in fury, blabbering nonsense. Take my blade before talking big. Jiang Fan shook his head. With no hesitation, he drew a rusty iron sword prepared temporarily. Advancing without fear, he met the attack head-on. 7 stars to the north. He thought, using the wandering dragon palm against such strength would be a waste. Clang! As the two weapons clashed, one retreated several steps. Seeing who it was, everyone could not believe their eyes. Amazingly, it was Jiang Fan who staggered back, unsteady. Xu Yining and Xu Yining were both shocked, then looked delighted. Even Xu Yining was astonished, murmuring, "How is this possible? A foundation establishment 3rd layer, forcing back a 4th layer." Li Qingfeng also looked surprised. His face darkened as he shouted, "Jiang Fan, get your act together." If he truly lost to Jiang Fan, it would not bode well for him as the master either. Jiang Fan was stunned for a moment, then gritted his teeth, roaring, "I was just careless. Do you really think you're strong?" As he said this, he swung the golden blade again. Jiang Fan calmly wielded his sword to meet the attack. His refined swordsmanship displayed the maximum power of the 7-star sword Ju. In contrast, Jiang Fan clearly hadn't fully grasped the 5 Tigers' soul-breaking blade. To Jiang Fan, it was full of flaws. After another exchange, he forced Jiang Fan to retreat once more. Seeing him so feeble, Jiang Fan even had one hand free to write. Ink formed a line of characters on the ground. Blade technique lacks precision. With that, another thrust made Jiang Fan dodge frantically. At the same time, Jiang Fan flicked his brush again. Movements are too slow. Insufficient power. Unstable foundation. An astounding sparring session played out, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Jiang Fan wielded his sword with ease, pushing Jiang Fan back continuously. Meanwhile, his other hand occasionally made critiques. Like a master in a high position, instructing a disciple. Who was assessing whom? Everyone felt a strange sense of absurdity. Chapter 83, Lu Qingxian's frustration. For the 10th move, Jiang Fan casually thrust his sword, aiming at Jiang Fan's throat. The sharp sword tip pierced his skin, revealing a trace of crimson. He shook his head and indifferently wrote down the final comment. In summary, it's just a facade. Disappointing. What he thought would be a trial and duel for himself ended up being less intense than the pressure the subaltern master gave him initially. The entire crowd was dead silent. Staring blankly at the 8 characters on the ground, they couldn't help but swallow nervously. They agreed Jiang Fan would withstand Jiang Fan's 10 moves. But in the end, it was Jiang Fan who barely withstood Jiang Fan's 10 moves, and he was in disgrace. No, it was evident that Jiang Fan held back, otherwise, Jiang Fan would have lost within 10 moves. Xu Yining cried with joy and rushed into his arms. "Fan! You did it! You did it! You can also join the Green Cloud sect now." The burden that suffocated her had finally lifted. Xu Yining stood in a daze. Jiang Fan is this powerful. Could he easily defeat senior brother Jiang Fan? Jiang Fan couldn't believe it either. He stared, eyes vacant, at the blood drop falling from his neck. He lost. Lost to someone he considered trash. Impossible. This can't be possible. How could he lose? As Jiang Fan turned his back on him, rage filled his heart, casting fear aside. Suddenly he raised the golden blade, viciously slashing at Jiang Fan's back, shouting, "You little beast, I didn't lose." But Jiang Fan had already anticipated this. A despicable coward like him wouldn't surrender so easily. He had been secretly preparing his movement technique and immediately utilized it upon hearing the blade's whoosh. Holding Xu Yining, he easily dodged the slash with a sideways move. At the same time, he instantly kicked him in the face without hesitation. Bang! Jiang Fan's would-be fatal blow missed. How could he fend off this kick? He was kicked, tumbling back, and smashed heavily to the ground. Blood flowed from his mouth. Xu Yining furiously witnessed the scene, angrily scolding, "Jiang Fan! You, an inner sect disciple, couldn't accept defeat and resorted to a sneak attack. Don't you have any shame?" Li Qingfeng, too, felt deeply humiliated. He kicked Jiang Fan off the ground, sending him flying to the rooftop, only to fall heavily back down, writhing in pain. His face turned fearfully grim. "You useless thing. Losing was already shameful enough. Not being able to accept defeat and attempting a sneak attack was even worse. Even worse was getting beaten down after the sneak attack. How did I teach such a disgraceful disciple? Xu Yining, pack your things and come with me now. He couldn't bear to stay there any longer. Xu Yining saw his unpleasant expression and timidly asked, Master, what about Fan? Li Qingfeng angrily glanced at Jiang Fan. His original intention was to let his disciple make Jiang Fan retreat after realizing the difficulty. Instead, it ended up embarrassing him as the master. How could he have any good feelings towards Jiang Fan? But as a dignified elder, having made a promise, how could he not honor it? After a brief consideration, he responded, although his strength is high, it's ultimately through dubious means that he overextended his potential. I can't take him as a disciple, but I'll bring him back to the Green Cloud sect. If an elder there takes a liking to him, he can become an inner sect disciple. If no one does, he'll be an outer sect disciple. Disciples of the Green Cloud sect can be roughly divided into 3 categories. True inheritors, inner sect, and outer sect. The first 2 are the sect's elite, the true disciples. The latter, although also called disciples, are essentially laborers. As long as you're willing to spend money or pull some strings, you can get an outer sect disciple identity. Outer sect disciples don't have access to the sect's core resources. They're just there to do free labor for the Green Cloud sect. Xu Yining's face changed, but, recalling Li Qingfeng's previous promise, she realized it was only an opportunity for Jiang Fan to join the Green Cloud sect. No promise to accept him as a disciple was made. So she had no further objections. Jiang Fan, however, was delighted. Regardless, entering the Green Cloud sect would give him a chance to access resources. Not entering meant no chance at all. Thank you, Elder Li. Li Qingfeng nodded. You go pack your things too. We'll depart soon. Jiang Fan's eyes darted around and he said, I heard that the Chen family's daughter, Chen Silin, has a 6th grade spirit root. Elder Li, are you interested in taking her as a disciple? 6th grade. Li Qingfeng was taken aback. A small city like Lonely Boat City, how could there be so many high-tier spirit roots? In small, remote cities like Lonely Boat City, finding a single 6th grade spirit root was considered extremely fortunate. Now, several appeared in succession. Jiang Fan said, Elder Li, you can ask your disciple Zhang Qizhan about it. Li Qingfeng immediately looked at him. Zhang Qizhan, not daring to conceal anything, nodded in pain. Yes, it is a 6th grade spirit root. But this has nothing to do with Jiang Fan. He hurriedly added, fearing that Jiang Fan would gain any advantage from it. Nonsense, could Jiang Fan give her a spirit root? Li Qingfeng glared at him and excitedly flew on the white crane to the Chen family. Jiang Fan also gave Zhang Qizhan a cold look. As long as Chen Silin could also go to the Green Cloud sect, he didn't care about any advantage or disadvantage. Seizing the moment when Li Qingfeng left, Zhang Qizhan's face twisted in hatred, gritting his teeth. Jiang Fan. Today's humiliation, I will repay 100-fold at the Green Cloud sect. In the Green Cloud sect, as an outer sect disciple, you'll be at my mercy, an inner sect disciple. Jiang Fan responded indifferently, we'll see when we get there. He didn't believe at all that he didn't really have a spirit root. Even more, he didn't believe that among the many elders in the Green Cloud sect, not one would recognize his worth. Shortly after, Li Qingfeng returned with Chen Silin, full of laughter. Haha, although we didn't find a 9th grade spirit root this time, the gains are immense. 2 6th grade spirit roots and 1 7th grade spirit root, the old fellows at the sect will be green with envy. Ha ha ha, let's go. Everyone followed him, jumping onto the flying beast and soaring into the sky. Meanwhile, at the Green Cloud sect, at the sect master peak, in the Great Hall, Lu Qingxian looked downcast, listening to her father, the sect master, scold her. It's one thing not to find a 3-star soul master. Such an existence likely wouldn't come to our Green Cloud sect. Even if found, it would be useless. But you couldn't even find that supreme prodigy from Dragon Rising Path. He has already defeated Nangong Luyun, do you not know what that means? Alright, it's fine if you couldn't find that supreme prodigy, but how could you not find the 9th-grade spiritual root you once met? The Green Cloud sect master was so furious his chest heaved. Poking her forehead, he lamented. You missed all these great opportunities for our Green Cloud sect. Have you grown too accustomed to comfort? Go. Greet the new disciples at the square, you'll handle this task. Lu Qingxian, with reddened eyes, left the great hall. Feeling extremely aggrieved. She had tried her best to search, but the 9th-grade spiritual root seemed to be playing hide-and-seek, impossible to find. Because of this, she was being punished, tasked with the hard work of welcoming new disciples. Damn 9th-grade spiritual root. She bit her teeth. It's all your fault. If it weren't for searching for you, I wouldn't have gone to Lonely Boat City again, wouldn't have missed the 3-star Soul Master and the Supreme Prodigy, wouldn't be scolded, wouldn't be punished. You better pray I never meet you, otherwise, you'll regret it. After speaking, she couldn't help but mock herself with a smile. Such existence must have gone to the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Why would he come to the Green Cloud sect? If he did come, I'd even be willing to be his wife. Chapter 84, 9th-grade Spiritual Root and Lu Qingxian. 2 days later, a magnificent, enormous city lay like a giant beast in the wilderness, lying on the horizon. Its size was 100 times that of Lonely Boat City. Within the city, 10 towering mountains rose straight into the clouds like sharp swords. That was the Green Cloud sect. The grand city at the foot of the mountains depended on the Green Cloud sect for survival. Surrounding the Green Cloud sect were swirling clouds of spiritual energy and singing white birds, making it seem like a celestial haven. Li Qingfeng rode on a flying bird, carrying them down to the foothills among the 9 peaks. This place was a grand plaza, bustling with disciples coming and going. As the bird landed, an outer sect disciple ran over to hold the bird, bowing respectfully. "Welcome back, Elder Li." Li Qingfeng had no intention of getting off the bird. He only waved to Jiang Fan. "I've brought you back to the sect, the rest is up to you. Go on." Xu Yining looked reluctant, holding onto Jiang Fan's sleeve, unwilling to let him leave. Li Qingfeng helplessly comforted her. "Yoren, tomorrow the elders from each peak will be selecting inner sect disciples from the new disciples. He still has a chance to become an inner sect disciple." On the way, Jiang Fan had already learned a lot about the sect from Li Qingfeng. He patted her hand, then wrote, "Yoren, don't worry, I will become an inner sect disciple." Beside him, Zhang Qizhan sneered, "A waste with no spirit root, and an elder would want you." Daydreaming, Jiang Fan glanced at him, then wrote in bold strokes, "What does that make you, someone even worse than a waste?" Zhang Qizhan was furiously vexed upon hearing these words. He glared hatefully at Jiang Fan, wanting to tear him apart to erase this great humiliation. At this moment, he noticed that the outer sect disciple holding the reins was someone who, like Xu Yining, had always been giving him offerings. He smirked secretly, giving him a subtle look. The disciple had listened to their conversation and immediately understood Zhang Qizhan's intention, nodding slightly without changing his expression. When Jiang Fan jumped off the bird and Elder Li and the others flew away. The outer sect disciple immediately approached eagerly, cupping his hands. "Junior brother, I am Lu Yang, an outer sect disciple here at the plaza. By the order of senior sister Lu, I am here to welcome new disciples." Lu Qingxian could not bear to come herself to serve the newcomers. She randomly assigned a few outer sect disciples to do the job. Jiang Fan understood and wrote, "Thank you, senior brother." Lu Yang said, "Come, I'll show you around the Green Cloud sect and introduce you to it." He explained everything in great detail, giving Jiang Fan a clearer understanding of the Green Cloud sect. The Green Cloud sect had 10 main peaks. The main peak was Sect Master Peak, controlled by the sect master of the Green Cloud sect. The other 9 peaks were controlled by the 9 elders. Elder Li Qingfeng controlled Heavenly Sword Peak, where the disciples, overall strength ranked 5th in the sect, neither at the top nor the bottom. Among the 9 elders, the most powerful was the Great Elder. His strength was close to that of the sect master, and the disciples he trained were exceptionally talented, almost surpassing those of the sect master. Thus, the sect master was constantly seeking powerful disciples to re-establish the absolute prestige of Sect Master Peak. As they talked, they arrived at a remote corner of the back mountain. "Few people came here. Junior brother, there's a spirit pond for new disciples to bathe. If you're tired, you can bathe and then find a place to sit cross-legged overnight. Just wait for the elders to select disciples tomorrow." Really? Jiang Fan smelled himself. After sitting on the bird for 2 days without bathing or changing clothes, he indeed had a bit of an odor. Thank you for your efforts, senior brother. Lu Yong smiled. It's my duty. With that, he left. Not far away, he encountered the approaching Jiang Fan. Where is he? Jiang Fan had just returned to Heavenly Sword Peak and hurried down the mountain. He intended to severely deal with Jiang Fan. For this, he brought several outer sect disciples with him. No matter how strong Jiang Fan was, could 2 fists fight against 4 hands? Lu Yong pointed inside, speaking cruelly. Senior brother Jiang, you brought people to teach him a lesson. You underestimate me. Handling such a new disciple is a piece of cake for me. Don't worry, I've already made sure he's beyond redemption. Jiang Fan frowned in confusion. Lu Yong snickered, lowering his voice. I tricked him into thinking it was a spirit pond for new disciples to bathe. He believed it. But it's a spirit pond exclusively for female disciples, forbidden to men. Jiang Fan snorted. So what? At most, he'll be beaten out. That won't relieve my anger. Lu Yong chuckled. I haven't finished yet. Do you know who's in there now? Jiang Fan kicked him. I don't care, that's too lenient, let's go. Lu Yong hurriedly stopped him. Stop. You must stop. Lu Qingxian is bathing in there. Who? Jiang Fan shivered, sucking in a cold breath. The sect master's daughter. He couldn't offend such a person. If he accidentally offended her while bathing, he would be immediately expelled from the sect. He might even have his entire cultivation crippled. He quickly realized, if Jiang Fan offended her, he would likely be beaten to a pulp on the spot. If he saw something he shouldn't. Even if Lu Qingxian showed mercy, the sect master would not let him live to protect his daughter's honor. Jiang Fan was truly beyond redemption. Jiang Fan grabbed Lu Yong's face. Nice, kid, you're more ruthless than me. Alright, let's wait outside and see how Jiang Fan comes out. If he's carried out, I'll reward you with a Foundation Establishment pill. The Foundation Establishment pill was a pill exclusive to the Green Cloud sect, unavailable outside. 1 pill was worth 100 crystal stones. It was a tremendous fortune. Lu Yong was ecstatic. Thank you, senior brother, thank you. The group immediately hid by the roadside, secretly waiting. Speaking of Jiang Fan, following Lu Yong's instructions, he walked to the end of the path. He saw a spirit pond about an acre in size. Steam rose from the pond, shrouded in mist. Such rich spiritual energy. Jiang Fan silently marveled. The spiritual energy here was almost comparable to the spirit pond at the City Lord Mansion. It was hard to believe this was an ordinary pond for outer sect disciples to bathe in. Without further hesitation, he removed his clothes and slowly entered the water. While cleansing his body, he also absorbed the spiritual energy, silently cultivating. Suddenly, he noticed a figure in the center of the pond through the mist. Sitting cross-legged in the water. Probably another new disciple, like himself. Jiang Fan thought. At that moment, he noticed the figure turning to look at him, so he spoke. Sorry to disturb your cultivation. Question mark. Question mark question mark. Question mark question mark question mark. This was the state of Lu Qingxian's mind at that moment. Questions. All questions. She almost doubted her hearing. Was that a man's voice? In a spirit pond for female disciples. While she was bathing and cultivating. Chapter 85. Not just 9th-grade spiritual root. No way. Lu Qingxian blinked her beautiful eyes. How could any male disciple dare to come here? Even a newcomer, the first thing they would be told upon arriving at the Green Cloud sect is that this place is forbidden for male disciples. Anyone who trespasses will be severely punished. Older disciples wouldn't dare to come either. Could it be that this is a female disciple, just with a more masculine voice? She tried to speak out. Junior sister, which peak do you belong to? Suddenly receiving a response. Jiang Fan was stunned, scratched his head, and said, I just arrived, and I'm not a junior sister. But senior brother, your voice. Could it be that practicing some weird cultivation technique has made them neither male nor female? He couldn't help but shiver. And that was all he did, just shiver. Lu Qingxian, on the other hand, was completely shaken, her eyes widened. A man. It was indeed a man. She immediately felt immense shame and anger, telekinetically pulling her clothes from the shore and hurriedly putting them on. Then, with her eyes blazing with fury, she harshly said, "You've got some nerve." Ah, Jiang Fan was a bit confused. He rubbed his nose. "Senior brother, what have I done?" "Lu Qingxian was furious. Who allowed you to come here? This is the spirit pond exclusively for female disciples." "What?" Jiang Fan was shocked, hastily stood up and backed towards the shore, saying, "Senior sister, I was told this place is for male disciples. I mean no offense. I'll leave right now." He never would have thought. All his life, he had never walked into the wrong restroom. But today, he had walked into a women's bathing pool. "Leave. Do you think you can just leave?" Lu Qingxian was trembling with rage. She had just been scolded, was in a bad mood, and wanted to take a bath here to calm herself down. But then, a male disciple barged in and bathed with her. If word of this got out, how could Lu Qingxian live? Jiang Fan said helplessly, "I was tricked." Lu Qingxian, still angry, said, "I don't care how you got here. Since you've seen me bathing, you don't deserve to keep these eyes." With that, she clapped her hands on the spirit pond. Her whole body lifted into the air, diving towards Jiang Fan like a large bird spreading its wings. Jiang Fan's expression slightly changed. The moment she made a move, he felt an overwhelming power. Stronger than anyone he had ever encountered. But he was also annoyed. With the mist in the way, he hadn't seen anything, and he had been tricked into coming here. This woman was being completely unreasonable. He used his movement technique, employing solitary wild goose shadow. Despite being in water, which slowed his movements, he still remained agile, easily dodging the powerful kick. Lu Qingxian, who missed her kick, became even more annoyed. "You dare to dodge." She immediately turned and threw a punch towards Jiang Fan's side. Continuous attacks made Jiang Fan equally angry. "You think you can bully a newcomer?" Without a second thought, he unleashed the first form of Wandering Dragon Palm. Shocking Dragon. His right fist surged forward, carried by a strong current of air, emitting dragon roars. The spiritual power surrounding his fist looked like a majestic dragon's head. The two forces collided in midair. Swish, swish, swish. Jiang Fan felt an unstoppable force sweep over him, sending him retreating several steps. He was secretly stunned. Was this an inner sect disciple of the Green Cloud sect? Her strength was worlds apart from Zhang Qijian's. Lu Qingxian also staggered, nearly falling into the water. Her face showed surprise. "You're a newcomer. You lie without hesitation." That previous attack had surpassed many inner sect disciples who had cultivated for years. How could a newcomer have such power? Undoubtedly, this was an older disciple trying to assault her. Upon getting caught, he pretended to be a newcomer, trying to get away with it. Thinking of this, her anger overflowed, her spiritual power surging like a tsunami, sweeping around her. The mist above the spirit pond was dispersed by her terrifying spiritual power. "I was going to just take your eyes, but now I've changed my mind. You will die," Lu Qingxian said coldly, her eyes full of icy fury. But just as she was about to strike, as the mist dissipated, their figures became completely clear. Both froze simultaneously. "It's you." Jiang Fan looked puzzled. "Aren't you that loose something Xian from the City Lord Mansion?" Thinking for a moment, he even took out a purple jade pendant. Lu Qingxian was also stunned. She stared intently at Jiang Fan, doubting whether her anger had made her hallucinate. 9th-grade spiritual root. The one whose cultivation speed was so astonishing it made her cry, the 9th-grade spiritual root. The one she searched for countless times, never finding any trace, the 9th-grade spiritual root. She had even given up hope of finding the 9th-grade spiritual root. And yet, here he was, right in front of her. Rubbing her eyes, she still saw Jiang Fan and the jade pendant in his hand. No mistake. It was him. It was that 9th-grade spiritual root. He had delivered himself to her. Her beautiful eyes widened, her delicate body trembling continuously, looking at Jiang Fan as if sparks were flying from her gaze. "What's wrong with you?" Jiang Fan felt uneasy under her stare and instinctively hugged himself. He had heard people say, young boys must learn to protect themselves when out and about. Just as he said that, Lu Qingxian suddenly lunged at him. Her hands grasped his shoulders, her bright eyes fixed on him as if she wanted to devour him. She was muttering things that made Jiang Fan feel utterly confused. I found you. Finally found you. Heavens, you've finally opened your eyes. Jiang Fan was a bit scared of this woman. He remembered that the last time they met, when he was in his #1 shadow guard identity, she was equally excited. He hurriedly pushed her away and started running towards the shore. Lu Qingxian, snapping back to her senses, eyes filled with excitement, laughed while grabbing him back. Looking at the person who caused her so much trouble, who she both loved and hated. She gritted her teeth, you really made it hard to find you. Do you know how much I've suffered because of you? Huh. Now that you've delivered yourself, you think you can run. Get back here. She threw Jiang Fan back into the center of the pond. Jiang Fan was on the brink of tears. What exactly did he do to provoke this outrageously powerful young lady? Miss Lu, can't you speak nicely? You're scaring me. Lu Qingxian snorted, talk. Where have you been all this time? Why couldn't I find you? Jiang Fan said helplessly, I was in Lonely Boat City all along. Always in Lonely Boat City. Lu Qingxian swayed, feeling like she might vomit blood. She had almost checked every potential family in Lonely Boat City, any martial path family that might produce a 9-grade spiritual root. She had almost dug up the entire city. But there was no trace of any 9-grade spiritual root. Where in Lonely Boat City? Be clear. Lu Qingxian found it hard to believe that she had missed something in such a thorough search. The Xu family, Xu Yining and Xu Yoren's family. Jiang Fan said truthfully. The Xu family. Lu Qingxian clapped her forehead, how could I have overlooked the Xu family? Because there was junior sister Xu Yoren in the Xu family, she assumed that there couldn't be a 9-grade spiritual root in the Xu family without Xu Yining knowing. And Xu Yining would definitely tell her. Yet, the 9-grade spiritual root was in the one family she had overlooked. She wanted to slap herself. So careful, yet still so careless. Truly a lapse in thoroughness. Wait, Lu Qingxian suddenly recalled something, suspiciously asking, you wouldn't happen to be named Jiang Fan, would you? She remembered, when she investigated the Dragon Rising Path prodigy. One person had entered her vision. It was Xu Yoren's fiancé, Jiang Fan. But Xu Yining's assessment of him was that he was ordinary, so she lost interest. Could it be that the person before her was Jiang Fan? That he wasn't just the 9-grade spiritual root, but also the prodigy she had been desperately searching for? Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 86 The Girl in the Medicine Garden. Jiang Fan blinked. Huh. How do you know my name? He remembered, the two of them had only met once. He had not told her his name. Lu Qingxian's beautiful eyes widened again. And then, she rushed over, grabbing Jiang Fan by the shoulders, her eyes radiating a shocked light. So you are the one on the Dragon Rising Path who defeated Nangong Luyun. How did you know this? Jiang Fan's eyes flickered, he didn't answer. But this silent admission let Lu Qingxian confirm it. The peerless prodigy she had been searching for was the 9th-grade spirit root. Recalling the astonishing strength Jiang Fan had just shown, she was even more convinced that the person who defeated Nangong Luyun was Jiang Fan. It really is you. It really is you. She suddenly understood why Jiang Fan's 9th-grade spirit root outshone her 7th-grade spirit root so much at the City Lord Mansion. The reason was, Jiang Fan's spirit root was probably not just simply a 9th grade. That was why both she and Chen Zhengdao misunderstood, thinking that the 9th-grade spirit root and the peerless prodigy were two different people. The truth was revealed. Her delight was indescribable. She joyously held this precious treasure, regaining it and cradling it in her arms, fearing that he would run away in the next moment. Great, our sect master Peak has hope. Father will no longer need to worry. Jiang Fan was buried in her chest. He couldn't help widening his eyes and hurriedly pushed her away, saying, what are you doing? Men and women shouldn't touch. Senior sister Lu, please show some respect. Lu Qingxian realized the situation she was in. Her pristine and flawless face suddenly turned bright red. What was I doing? But seeing Jiang Fan's seemingly disadvantaged look, she got angry, taking advantage and still feeling wronged. She, Lu Qingxian, wasn't bad, right? In terms of looks, she could rank among the top few in the 9 sect. How many sects' young masters and successors had yearned to kiss her? Giving Jiang Fan the chance, he actually disliked it. Jiang Fan didn't want to argue with her, saying, can I leave now? If I don't go and other female disciples come, it won't be easy to explain our situation. Lu Qingxian thought the same. She said, "Go, but no matter which elder chooses you as an inner sect disciple tomorrow, do not agree. I'll get my father to take you in." Jiang Fan laughed. "You think you can control me?" Lu Qingxian grinned maliciously. "What, you want the whole sect to know that you came to the female disciples' spirit pond?" Jiang Fan's face went pale, gritting his teeth. "You win. Turn around." Lu Qingxian mocked him. "You think you can control me?" Without a word, Jiang Fan stood up, baring his naked body in front of her. "Ah, scoundrel!" Lu Qingxian screamed, hurriedly covering her face and crouching in the water. Jiang Fan smirked. "So what if you're powerful? Still easily dealt with, right?" He jumped ashore, quickly got dressed. Taking advantage of the fact that no one else was around, he hurriedly escaped. After a long time, Lu Qingxian dared to get up, her peerlessly beautiful face still flushed like the evening sky. She bit her rose petal-like red lips, half laughing, half angry. "Little rascal. No one has ever made me this angry in my life. Once you enter my father's sect, you'll be my junior brother. In the future, I'll see how I deal with you." Meanwhile, Jiang Fan, feeling light-hearted, he walked briskly along the path away from the back mountain. Hidden in the dark, Zhang Qizhan and the others, who were waiting to see Jiang Fan being carried out, couldn't believe their eyes. How did he look like he had been punished? He was lively and jumping. Zhang Qizhan angrily punched Lu Yong's chest, shouting, "Is this what you call condemnation?" Lu Yong also felt full of questions. It shouldn't be like this. Lu Qingxian was clearly inside bathing. "Senior brother Zhang, let me go inside and check the situation." He couldn't believe it. Could it be that Lu Qingxian had already finished her bath? And by sheer luck, this kid wasn't discovered by Lu Qingxian. He stepped inside. Soon after, coming close to the spirit pond, he peeked inside and was stunned. He saw Lu Qingxian by the shore, combing her wet hair. This proved that Lu Qingxian had been inside all along. So that would mean the two had shared the bath together. Lu Yong was horrified. He realized he had discovered something he shouldn't have. Terrified, he crawled away on all fours. Unexpectedly, Lu Qingxian turned around, cold as ice. "You were the one who tricked Jiang Fan into coming here, right?" She looked at him coldly. Lu Yong broke into a cold sweat, feeling as if the sky had fallen, immediately kneeling and kowtowing. I was wrong. Please spare me, fairy." Lu Qingxian's eyes grew colder. "Do you know what a great disaster you've caused?" Lu Yong was scared to death. "I almost ruined fairy's purity. I have sinned. I have committed a grave crime." Bang! Lu Qingxian flew over, smashing the green stone steps in front of him with her foot. "Ruining my purity is secondary. You almost made me kill a peerless prodigy. Your sin is unforgivable." After saying that, she shattered his dantian with a single palm strike, crippling his cultivation. "Leave Green Cloud Sect now, never return. Also, if you dare to reveal a word about what happened here, you'll die." Lu Yong clutched his abdomen in pain, fleeing in panic. When he made it outside, Zhang Qizhan looked at him in astonishment. "What happened? What's with you?" Lu Yong tried to open his mouth but quickly shut it again. His face was full of bitterness as he cautioned, "Senior brother Zhang, thinking of how you've taken care of me over the years, let me remind you. Don't fight with Jiang Fan." Finished speaking, he walked towards the mountain gate in pain and regret. Zhang Qizhan was stunned for a long time. Then he clenched his fists tightly. "You want me not to fight with Jiang Fan? He took my woman and shamed me, how can I endure that? In Green Cloud Sect, it's either him or me." Jiang Fan knew none of this. Holding the key obtained from Dragon Rising Path, he arrived at the Green Cloud Sect's medicine garden. There was a huge array around the medicine garden to isolate it. The only entrance was guarded by a deacon and several outer sect disciples. "The key is genuine." The deacon guarding there looked at Jiang Fan strangely. The qualification to enter and exit the medicine garden was very rare. Only a few true disciples who had made great contributions to the sect had the chance to get in once. But when did Green Cloud Sect have such a young, unfamiliar true disciple? Regardless, since the key was real, he had no right to interfere. a lower-grade key only allows you to pick herbs in the lower medicine garden, with a total weight not exceeding 10 pounds. The ingredients for fierce tiger pills weren't extraordinarily rare. The lower medicine garden might have them. Understood, senior. Holding the key, he went inside. Immediately, the fragrance of countless herbs hit him. A huge medicine garden of hundreds of acres came into view, filled with countless herbs. Each one rare and hard to find outside. Then, he found the main ingredient he needed, the white tiger rose. However, in front of the white tiger roses, a pretty-faced female disciple was picking them. Seeing her taking them with her bare hands, Jiang Fan's face changed. He quickly shouted, "Stop!" Chapter 87, Whose elder's disciple are you? The female disciple was startled by the sudden shout. She lost her balance and sat down unsteadily in the muddy medicine garden. She quickly got up and looked at the dirt on her backside. Annoyed, she looked at Jiang Fan and said, "Why did you shout?" Jiang Fan exhaled slightly and walked over, pointing at the dangerous rosé. "Is this your first time encountering such a rose?" A hint of nervousness flashed across the female disciple's delicate face, but she stubbornly said, "Who said that? I have this kind in my backyard." Jiang Fan smiled but said nothing. He picked up a dead branch from the ground and carefully poked the rose. The result. The apparently pink rose with white stripes, which looked quite beautiful, suddenly contracted its petals and wrapped them around the tip of the branch. It was like a sudden attack by a fierce tiger, biting down hard on its prey. With a snap, your journey continues with free webnovel. The tip of the branch broke off. Seeing this scene, the female disciple covered her mouth in astonishment. If she had touched it with her finger just now, she could imagine the result. Even if it wasn't bitten off, it would have been lacerated. She blushed, bowed slightly, and said, "I'm sorry for misunderstanding you, and thank you." Jiang Fan didn't mind and said, "It's okay." He then took out a prepared jade box and a jade knife and skillfully began cutting the rose. In no time, he filled the entire box. Roughly estimated, it was about 3 pounds. Sufficient to concoct enough fierce tiger pills for someone who just finished the first layer of the Iron Blood True Scripture. Plus, he could take away 7 pounds of herbs. No need to think, he should know what to take. The main ingredients for the Foundation Establishment pill, land coral, and black-striped Ganoderma. Luckily, both ingredients were in the lower medicine garden and not far away. He took out a professional container and separately harvested 3.5 pounds of both ingredients. The delicate-faced girl watched Jiang Fan's practiced movements and couldn't help but be amazed. "This, junior brother, may I ask which peak you are an outstanding disciple of?" "I am Xu Yining of Medicine Peak." "Junior brother, the ingredients you just harvested seem to be for the Foundation Establishment pill. Are you perhaps a disciple of Pill Peak?" She was very puzzled. The materials for the Foundation Establishment pill were only needed by Pill Peak. Why would disciples of other peaks need them? Which peak's disciple? It's hard to say if he could even become a peak disciple. He coughed lightly and said, "I'm just curious about herbs. I'm not a disciple of Pill Peak." On the first day he joined the sect, he got tricked into going to the female disciple's spirit pond. He didn't dare to tell the truth to anyone anymore. The identity of a soul master was something he would never reveal, not even under torture. Oh. Seeing that he didn't want to say more, Xu Yining didn't inquire further. At this moment, a voice came from the gate of the medicine garden. "Xu Yining, you have 15 minutes left. Pick the herbs quickly and come out without delay." Upon hearing this, Xu Yining's face tightened. She pulled out a prescription from her pocket, looking at the several herbs she hadn't found yet and couldn't help but furrow her brows. "What to do? There are still 5 kinds I haven't picked. Let alone concoct the medicine. This is the last task my master has arranged for me. If I fail the examination, I will be punished with a year of closed-door cultivation." Thinking about the year-long penalty, like imprisonment, her face turned pale. Suddenly, Jiang Fan's figure passed in front of her eyes, and she couldn't help but brighten up. Pressing her lips together, blushing, she said, "Junior brother, can you help me with something? Can you help me find all the herbs on this prescription?" Finding herbs. How difficult must a prescription be that she couldn't even find the herbs? He took the prescription and looked at it, and couldn't help but be surprised. Wasn't this the black soul bone healing ointment from the Undying Medical Book? The herbs required for it were all unique in this world. At least, his lower level key wasn't sufficient to access these herbs. No wonder she couldn't gather all the herbs. These herbs weren't just rare, they were also odd and difficult for anyone without experience to find quickly. Fortunately, all the details were recorded in the Undying Medical Book. Please, junior brother. Seeing the time pass, Xu Yining clasped her hands in a pleading gesture. If you can find them, I only need one portion. The rest will be yours. What? One portion of herbs, at most a pound. The remaining 9 pounds would all go to Jiang Fan. However, he confirmed by asking, do you have the key to the high-level medicine garden? The herbs on this prescription, 90% are in the high-level garden. Seeing that Jiang Fan accurately named the herb levels, Xu Yining felt hopeful. She nodded repeatedly, yes, I can freely pick 10 pounds from low, medium, and high-level gardens here. Jiang Fan felt completely relieved, saying, good, that's settled. He checked what Xu Yining had already harvested and quickly entered the high-level medicine garden. Xu Yining worriedly said, I've looked here, and it seems there's nothing. Jiang Fan didn't reply. He scanned around and found some seemingly ordinary wormwood, put on gloves, and pulled them up at once. Immediately, a bunch of golden roots appeared. Dragon whisker root. It's the dragon whisker root from the prescription. Yes, I forgot that dragon whisker root likes to parasitize on wild grass roots. Next, Jiang Fan saw an apple tree, which seemed to bear ordinary apples. When he took out a mirror and used it to reflect the light onto the apples, they instantly turned snow white. Ah, snow crystal fruit. It reveals its true form only under sunlight. The teacher never mentioned that. Afterward, Jiang Fan continuously found one rare herb after another in the high-level medicine garden. In less than 15 minutes, all the required herbs on the prescription were gathered. Jiang Fan separated out a pound and handed it to her. Compare it to the prescription and see if anything is missing. Xu Yining eagerly compared them one by one, her face full of surprise. It's all here. Everything is here. She looked at Jiang Fan with almost worship in her eyes. Junior brother, you are like a god. Far superior to my senior sister. Almost with a glance, Jiang Fan knew where the required herbs were hidden. This was something only their master, Medicine Peak Master, could do. She thought Jiang Fan must be an extraordinary disciple of some peak. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such abilities. This worshipful gaze made Jiang Fan feel a bit guilty. These rare herbs, he took 90%, yet she showed no reluctance and praised him so calmly. He scratched his head, realizing that concocting the black soul bone healing ointment was also tough. Xu Yining had difficulty even finding the herbs. With just one portion, it would be hard to concoct successfully. Never mind, he thought, he should help her to the end. Consider the debt fully repaid. Senior sister Xu, if you trust me, I'll help you concoct the ointment too. Xu Yining's eyes lit up. She was worried about it. Gathering the herbs was one thing, but whether she could successfully concoct the ointment was uncertain. Trust. Of course, I trust you. She nodded hastily. Thus, Jiang Fan started a fire and used the alchemy furnace to concoct the bone-healing ointment. Soon, a lump of pitch-black ointment, black and reflective, was presented to Xu Yining. She couldn't help but frown, silently wondering, shouldn't the black soul bone-healing ointment be dark blue? How did this junior brother make it black? Did it fail? However, he was helping her out of kindness, and she didn't want to criticize. She could only suppress her worry, pack it up, and repeatedly thank him. Thank you, junior brother. By the way, I don't know your name or your peak. So I can visit and thank you properly later. Jiang Fan waved his hand. I'm Jiang Fan, no need for a formal visit. Because I'm a new disciple, I haven't joined a peak yet. Xu Yining nodded. Oh, so you are junior brother Jiang. But then, her expression froze. Wait. He said he was a new disciple. Chapter 88. You call this top-grade bone-healing ointment? Xu Yining stared wide-eyed. She looked unblinkingly at the young boy, who was clearly 2 years younger than herself. Stammering, she said, Are you, a novice? Haven't you taken a master yet? How is this possible? Jiang Fan harvested high-grade herbs with such skill that it couldn't have been cultivated without the guidance of a top-level master, could it? Also, the technique used in refining the black soul bone healing ointment earlier was complex and mysterious. There were many steps she couldn't understand the principle behind. Could he do this without the guidance of a renowned master? If he said he was a secret apprentice of the Medicine Peak Master, she would have believed it. But Jiang Fan claimed he was a novice. A novice who had not yet taken a master. Frankly speaking, novices brought back by the elders and then left in the plaza were all discarded disciples. 99% of them would be outer sect disciples in the future. How could someone as excellent as Jiang Fan end up like this? She really wanted to get to the bottom of it. But the deacon's reminder came, Xu Yining, your time is up. Helplessly, she had to leave. Jiang Fan also left with many medicinal materials. After Xu Yining explained, the deacon could only enviously agree to Jiang Fan taking away 9 pounds of high-grade medicinal materials. High-grade medicinal materials, even the deacons guarding the medicine garden, might not get 9 pounds in a year. Xu Yining bade farewell to Jiang Fan and hurried back to the Medicine Peak. You're the last one. The Medicine Peak Master, Wen Hongyao, a 70-something old woman with a rigid personality and a stern demeanor, said. In front of her, a group of female disciples was already kneeling. Their assessments had all failed without exception. Seeing Xu Yining return last, Wen Hongyao huffed lightly, always dawdling. And all of you fail the assessment in the end. How can I take in such idiots as disciples? She unleashed a tirade, making Xu Yining tear up with grievance, lowering her head pitifully without saying a word. The surrounding female disciples also looked bitter. It wasn't that they were stupid, but that their master's requirements were too strict. Every time, the test would exceed their knowledge, leaving them with a deep sense of frustration. Before coming to the Green Cloud sect, they were all exceptionally talented in refining medicine locally, but under her, they seemed like useless individuals. Wen Hongyao had no sympathy, instead becoming stricter. Why are you crying? You failed 9 assessments consecutively. If you fail this time too, it will be the 10th, and according to my rules, you must be in seclusion for a year. Show me your assessment results. Xu Yining immediately became tense with fear. After hesitating for a long time, she finally took out a lump of the unusually dark black soul bone healing ointment. The female disciples sighed at the sight. Is this a refining failure? It should normally be dark blue. It's over, junior sister is going to be in seclusion for a year, she is so young, how can she endure it? Wen Hongyao looked at it with a grim face. But upon seeing it, she was taken aback and walked over with thunderous steps. She grabbed the bone healing ointment and looked at it closely in her palm. In her dim eyes, a trace of shock gradually appeared. She took a deep breath. Such skill, to be able to refine such a high-grade bone healing ointment. This is the bone healing ointment. The female disciples were puzzled. Xu Yining was also taken aback, then immediately overjoyed. If that's the case, did she pass the assessment? But to her surprise, Wen Hongyao suddenly scolded harshly, insolent disciple. Kneel down to me now. The sudden outburst scared Xu Yining, and she knelt down immediately. Wen Hongyao's anger grew as she yelled, you have such ability. Could you have invited such an influential person to personally refine a top-grade black soul bone healing ointment for you? Even I may not be able to get them to do it. What? Top-grade black soul bone healing ointment. Xu Yining was stunned and said, Master, you misunderstand, I did not invite any influential person. Wen Hongyao was even angrier, still lying. Top-grade black soul bone healing ointment is the unique formula of the undying doctor, refining even a low-grade one is difficult, let alone a top-grade one. Isn't this the work of a master? You treacherous disciple, not only did you cheat, but you also dare to lie and deny it. I will expel you from the sect now. Xu Yining was terrified. She never expected that asking a junior brother for help in refining medicine would bring such a disaster. She hurriedly explained, Master, I'm not lying. I did not invite any influential person, but asked a junior brother for help. A junior brother? Wen Hongyao stared at Xu Yining's about to cry look, which didn't seem like a lie, and her face was full of doubt. Are you sure it's a junior brother? When did our Green Cloud sect have such a talented medicine refiner? Which peak does he belong to, and who is his master? I want to confront him in person. She couldn't believe it. Discover exclusive tales on free webnovel. As the medicine peak master, could she be worse at refining medicine than a disciple from another peak? If this got out, how could she continue to be the medicine peak master? Might as well give the position to him. But Xu Yining quickly replied, "No, master, you misunderstood again. He does not belong to any peak and has not yet taken a master." What? Such a talented medicine refiner has not even taken a master. This was beyond ridiculous. If any other female disciple had said such absurd words, she would have slapped them away. But because she knew Xu Yining wouldn't dare lie to her, Wen Hongyao was stunned. A medicine refining genius abandoned by a short-sighted elder and left in the plaza. Could heaven be giving our medicine peak a chance to rise? With such a talented disciple, why would our medicine peak worry about surpassing other peaks? The more she thought about it, the more excited she became. She showed an affectionate smile and helped Xu Yining up herself. "Yining, what's that junior brother's name? Do you remember his appearance?" Xu Yining, surprised and delighted, nodded repeatedly. Wen Hongyao's eyes gleamed so brightly. "Good, good, good. Tomorrow you will accompany me to select disciples. No matter the cost, I must secure him." Meanwhile, Jiang Fan, completely unaware that he had already been targeted by the sect master peak and medicine peak, he was still worried about tomorrow's elder disciple selection. If he couldn't enter the inner sect, it would be hard to get another chance to gather medicinal materials from the medicine garden like today. When he used up the materials and crystal stones he had, he could do nothing but stare. So, tomorrow would decide his fate. Just as he was preparing to meditate until dawn, suddenly, there were exclamations from the crowd. "So beautiful! Which peak's female disciple is this? An absolute beauty. And both of them are stunning. Keep your voice down. Those uniforms are from Heavenly Sword Peak, they are not to be messed with." In their amazed gazes, the two girls searched the plaza, and finally, they saw Jiang Fan sitting cross-legged under a stone monument. Fan, Xu Yining in a cyan long gown, with a slender and graceful figure and a face of stunning beauty, called out. Jiang Fan, Chen Silin, in white like snow, untainted by dust, her clear and ethereal face like a summer lotus, followed. Their eyes gleamed as they ran to Jiang Fan. "What brings you here?" Jiang Fan asked in surprise. Xu Yining dashed into his arms. Although they had only parted for a day, she acted like it had been ages, softly saying, "Xiling and I will stay with you." Chen Silin shyly came to Jiang Fan's side. As Xu Yining occupied his broad chest, she could only gently hold his arm and leaned in. "No matter tomorrow's result, Silin will always be yours." Jiang Fan was moved and embraced her as well. The scene shattered the minds of the disciples present. They were so jealous their molars cracked. It also made Ding Wanping, the third senior brother from Heavenly Sword Peak assigned to protect them, frown deeply. He finally found some stunning female disciples from Heavenly Sword Peak, and before he could make a move, they were taken by a worthless nobody. "Who are you? How dare you flirt with the female disciples of Heavenly Sword Peak?" Chapter 89, Beating the True Legacy. Jiang Fan looked over upon hearing the words. Seeing his attire, he knew he was a disciple of the Heavenly Sword Peak. His undisguised hostility made Jiang Fan frown. Without any courtesy, he said, "Yining, Silin, tell him who I am to you. So he can stop babbling." Xu Yining cupped his hands toward the newcomer and said, "Senior brother Ding, this is my fiancé, Jiang Fan." Chen Silin was not as gentle as Xu Yining, she glanced at him coldly and said, "I am Jiang Fan's concubine, this is none of senior brother Ding's business, please do not disturb our reunion." What? Ding Wanping found it hard to believe. Xu Yining, such a beautiful and top-tier 7th grade spirit root genius, actually had a marriage contract with this worthless guy. So be it, but Chen Silin, a 6th grade spirit root with top-tier looks, is his concubine. Looking at her demeanor, she seemed very content. Why? He, the third senior brother of the Heavenly Sword Peak and the third true disciple, did not have the fortune of possessing two beautiful and talented women. What is Jiang Fan? He frowned and said in a deep voice, "Junior sisters, stop fooling around. Being with such a person with no future is irresponsible for your lives. Come back with me quickly, and I will personally teach you our peak's swordsmanship. Saying this, he directly reached out. Extending both hands, he tried to grab each of their fragrant shoulders. Jiang Fan's eyes glinted coldly. Xu Yining and Chen Silin had already made it clear, yet he still did not give up. More excessively, he wanted to take advantage of the opportunity for physical contact. He acted decisively. A palm strike, shocking dragon, flew out. Ding Wanping laughed angrily. What do you think you are, daring to strike at a true disciple? He was waiting for Jiang Fan to strike. Just to fiercely teach him a lesson in front of the two beauties, letting them see how incompetent their fiancé was. So, he excitedly took the palm strike. Dealing with a newcomer, as a true disciple, wasn't that easy. However, as soon as they exchanged blows, Ding Wanping felt an extraordinarily domineering palm power. When he tried to resist with full strength, it was already too late. He was shaken and sent flying, landing embarrassingly on the ground. The surrounding disciples were dumbfounded. Usually, it was the senior disciples bullying the newcomers. This was the first time a newcomer bullied a senior disciple. What a strange sight. Aren't they saying the heavenly sword peak people are not to be messed with? Is he really a true disciple? How weak. Ding Wanping felt humiliated beyond measure. As a true disciple, he got beaten by a newcomer. If word spread, would he still have any face? Jiang Fan, you're courting death. Ding Wanping drew his long sword, making it hum loudly. Kneel down and apologize. Or else. Jiang Fan pushed aside the two women, grasped the hilt of the sword on his back with a cold gaze, threatening me, you're not qualified. Enduring normally was right, but when bullied to the limit, continued endurance was cowardice. When it was time to show his fangs, he wouldn't be polite. Ding Wanping was extremely furious. Jiang Fan did not regard him, a true disciple, at all. He snorted in anger, charging in with his sword, shouting, I'll teach you a lesson, let you know what the Green Cloud sect is and what it relies on to speak. Without strength, being arrogant in Green Cloud sect led to a dire end. The senior disciples looked pityingly at Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan was completely unafraid. Gripping the purple sword, ready to strike at any moment. But at this moment, a loud voice scolded, Disciple of Heavenly Sword Peak, do you want to enter the reward and punishment hall? Aren't you aware it's forbidden to fight on the square? It was the deacon of the square leading a patrol, noticing the commotion, immediately stopping it. Upon hearing this, Ding Wanping's face changed. Unwillingly glaring at Jiang Fan, he sheathed the sword, turning to face the approaching deacon. Deacon Bai, I was just scaring him. Deacon Bai glared at him sternly. Seeing he was a true disciple of Heavenly Sword Peak, did not delve deeper, only snorted, the night market is starting, if you don't want punishment, behave yourself. After saying this, he continued patrolling with his team. Ding Wanping clenched his fists and spat, really picked the right timing. Can't come a bit later. Actually, not just the square, the entire 9 peaks, even the outer Green Cloud City, disallowed private duels. Once caught, severely punished. However, he was a true disciple. Even if he truly beat Jiang Fan, would the sect punish him, an elite disciple over a discarded trash disliked by Li Qingfeng? You're lucky today, Ding Wanping said viciously. Jiang Fan released the sword hilt, coldly staring at Ding Wanping, the lucky one is you. At this moment, suddenly, disciples surged down from the 10 peaks, holding lamps, setting up stalls in the square. Displaying various items they had acquired. There were heavenly materials and earthly treasures found during adventures, as well as lower-tier magic artifacts they had made, and some powerful inner-sect disciples selling their cultivation insights. The dazzling array of goods was overwhelming. Xu Yining and Chen Silin showed curious expressions. A woman's love for shopping showed unmistakably. Seeing this, Jiang Fan laughed and said, let's go, I'll accompany you to browse, and buy whatever you like. Ever since finalizing the engagement with the two, he hadn't given them a proper gift. Now was just the right time to buy each a gift. The two women looked expectantly. The gifts were not important, what mattered was who gave them. Tisk. Frog in a well, do you think the night market of the Green Cloud sect uses gold and silver? Ding Wanping laughed. It's crystal stones. Crystal stones. Do you have any? Talking big about buying for them. Xu Yining quickly said, Forget it, Fan, I don't want to browse anymore. Chen Silin shook her head gently. When I receive my monthly 100 crystal stones, I'll buy for you. Jiang Fan smiled. He had been worrying about the 1,000 crystal stones he got from Xu Gangli, having nowhere to spend them. Let's go, buy without worry, I have plenty of crystal stones. He wrapped his arm around their shoulders, entering the night market. Ding Wanping laughed, pretending to be rich. Junior sisters, whatever you fancy, let senior brother pay. This useless fiancé of yours only knows how to coax with words. The two women angrily glared at him, deeply annoyed. Suddenly, Xu Yining accidentally saw a mid-grade magic artifact, a blue long sword. The sword body was light and simply carved. Whether in grade or design, it was far better than the ones distributed by the Heavenly Sword Peak. Most importantly, when the stall owner waved the green sword, it emitted dazzling green light, enough to blind an enemy's vision at a critical moment. For a moment, she couldn't help but look a few more times. Ding Wanping noticed and eagerly said, "Junior sister, you like this sword? All right, senior brother will buy it." Then he asked the stall owner, "How much for this sword?" The stall owner, wearing a hat to conceal identity, said, 200 crystal stones. How much? Ding Wanping was taken aback. A mid-grade magic artifact, at most 50 crystal stones, why ask for 200? As a true disciple, he only received 100 crystal stones monthly from Green Cloud sect. Spending 200 to please Xu Yining, he couldn't bear it. The stall owner, without looking up, rudely said, "Buy if you want, otherwise scram." Ding Wanping, unused to such treatment, shouted, "I'm Ding Wanping from Heavenly Sword Peak. Repeat what you just said." Unexpectedly, the stall owner sneered, "Whatever you are, no money, then scram." Continue reading on free webnovel. Ding Wanping gritted his teeth. Feeling humiliated in front of the two women, and in the night market, he couldn't fight. He turned his anger towards Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan indeed smiled playfully. Infuriated, Ding Wanping said, "Laugh all you want, as if you're rich enough to buy it." Jiang Fan shrugged, pulled out 20 mid-grade crystal stones from his pouch, and tossed them on the stall. "I'll take the sword." Chapter 90. Amazing swordsmanship. Mid-grade crystal stone. The vendor was momentarily stunned, then burst into joyful laughter. "This sword is yours." He tossed the green sword to Jiang Fan with a flourish. Then, ecstatically stroking the mid-grade crystal stone, he exclaimed, "In this day and age, people who use mid-grade crystal stones to buy things are either rich or noble. This junior brother, you are truly generous. Unlike some old disciples, who are both poor and arrogant." Ding Wanping's face flushed with anger. He had never expected that Jiang Fan, a newcomer, would have so many crystal stones. And mid-grade crystal stones, which were rarely seen on the market. Crystal stones are classified into 3 grades: top, mid-grade, and low-grade. Among them, one top-grade crystal stone could be exchanged for 10 mid-grade crystal stones, and one mid-grade crystal stone could be exchanged for 10 low-grade crystal stones. However, mid-grade and higher crystal stones were rich in spiritual power, and martial artists generally used them for cultivation. Very few people were willing to exchange mid-grade crystal stones for low-grade ones. Even fewer people used them as currency for transactions. With a sarcastic tone, Ding Wanping said, "Generous. More like a fool. A magic artifact worth 50 crystal stones bought for 200. Foolish and flushed with cash." Jiang Fan smirked, "If you have no money, just admit it honestly. What's the point of being sour? Do you really think this mid-grade magic artifact only has that little bit of green light going for it?" Although fleeting, Jiang Fan had noticed the powerful aspect of this sword. "Yining, watch closely." He grasped the green sword and demonstrated the 7-star sword Ju on the spot. During the performance, the green sword continuously emitted green light. When the green light reached a certain amount, as he thrust out a stab, several green lights followed the direction of the sword's tip, hitting the front with popping sounds, causing minor explosions. Xu Yining covered her mouth in surprise. The green light released from the sword can attack enemies. Jiang Fan nodded slightly, and that's not all. These green lights seem to have a locking effect on enemies, capable of continuous pursuit, posing quite a trouble to the opponent. In actual combat, it's definitely a divine artifact. Clap, clap, clap. The vendor couldn't help applauding, looking at Jiang Fan with admiration, so young, yet with such keen insight. And your swordsmanship is quite extraordinary. Although the swordsmanship you just used wasn't highly sophisticated, you fully grasped its essence. Many old disciples on our peak probably don't have as deep an understanding of swordsmanship as you do. A master could tell one's skills with a single move. Jiang Fan's casual display of swordsmanship had amazed him. I wonder which peak this junior brother is from. With such talent in swordsmanship, why have I never seen you before? He then noticed that the two girls beside Jiang Fan were dressed in Heavenly Sword Peak's attire. Frowning, he asked, "Are you a disciple of Heavenly Sword Peak?" That shouldn't be the case. Besides that sword-obsessed maniac, the rest on Heavenly Sword Peak are all useless. There shouldn't be someone like you. Ding Wanping, who was innocently dragged into this, could no longer bear it. Who are you insulting? The vendor turned to Ding Wanping, removed his hat, revealing a handsome, slightly roguish young man. He looked to be around 25 years old. Continue your adventure at Free Webnovel. He stared disdainfully at Ding Wanping. I'm insulting you. Do you have a problem with that? Just moments earlier, Ding Wanping had been brimming with aggression. Seeing the man's face, he was shocked. Gongsun Nan. How is it you? Gongsun Nan snorted, knowing it's me, why haven't you left yet? Ding Wanping's face showed deep apprehension. Gritting his teeth, he didn't dare utter a single harsh word and immediately turned and left. Jiang Fan couldn't help but study him curiously. Could it be that this person was very powerful? On the side, Chen Silin excitedly tugged at Jiang Fan's sleeve. Gongsun Nan, we met Gongsun Nan, one of the top 10 disciples of Green Cloud sect, on our first day. As a trader, she was much more perceptive about various pieces of information than Xu Yining. Just after arriving at Heavenly Sword Peak, she had specifically inquired about many things regarding the sect, including the top 10 disciples ranking. Gongsun Nan looked at Jiang Fan with some astonishment. Judging by your expression, it seems you don't recognize me. That shouldn't be the case, I don't have such little fame, do I? Jiang Fan quickly cupped his hands and replied, apologies, senior brother, I am a new disciple and not yet familiar with the sect. I hope you'll forgive any unintended rudeness. Newcomer. Gongsun Nan was taken aback. My goodness, this year's newcomers are quite impressive. Just joining the sect, and your swordsmanship is already this strong. Give you a few years, and I'll be pushed to the side. He said wistfully, which elder got lucky enough to take you as a disciple? Such a tone. Jiang Fan rolled his eyes and said, I haven't yet been accepted into any sect. I'm waiting for the elders to choose tomorrow. If I'm lucky enough, perhaps I'll join one of the peaks. What? Gongsun Nan was nearly shocked jawless. You weren't taken back to any peak. Looking at the two girls' attire beside him, he said, Elder Li Qingfeng brought you back to Green Cloud sect but didn't accept you as a disciple. Left you to fend for yourself. Although a bit embarrassed, this was the truth. Jiang Fan nodded lightly. Seriously, how did Elder Li's eyes become so blind? Gongsun Nan clutched his forehead in disbelief. Such a wonderful sword talent, he just let it slip. Immediately after, he showed a delighted expression, grasping Jiang Fan's wrist. Come, follow me back to Carefree Peak. My master will definitely treat you as a treasure seeing a sword talent like you. Xu Yining and Chen Silin were stunned. Carefree Peak. Isn't that the third-ranked peak? Only beneath Sect Master Peak and Great Elders Peak, extremely powerful with many prodigious practitioners. Jiang Fan was actually going to be taken to Carefree Peak. This sudden great joy caused the two girls immense delight. Jiang Fan could now enter the inner sect. Jiang Fan was also very happy. Shopping on the street and stumbling upon an opportunity was beyond his expectations. Wait. But then, Gongsun Nan slapped his forehead. Look at me. As a newcomer awaiting selection, you can't privately accept a master. You must wait for tomorrow's elder's selection. What is your name? Jiang Fan. Gongsun Nan nodded. All right, I'll go back and tell my master right away. You just wait to join our Carefree Peak. Jiang Fan said with relief, thank you, senior brother Gongsun, for your recommendation. Gongsun Nan waved his hand. A sword prodigy like you would be welcomed by any peak. Fortunately, I'm the one who spotted your extraordinariness. Hee hee. See you tomorrow then. I'm looking forward to seeing the elders, expressions when the supposedly unwanted you display your sword talent among them, ha ha ha. Watching him leave with laughter, Jiang Fan's emotions took a while to calm down. He continued to lead the two girls through the market. Unfortunately, they didn't encounter another treasure like the green sword. Sighing, I'll get you a suitable gift when I have the chance, Jiang Fan said. Chen Silan's eyes twinkled. All right, I heard our Green Cloud sect convenes a trading meeting once a month. It's all bartering, and mid-grade and top-grade crystal stones are also considered goods. There are many treasures at such gatherings. Jiang Fan nodded. After getting the details, he led the two girls back to the stone monument to quietly sit and wait for dawn. Heavenly Sword Peak. Damn it. Ding Wanping kicked a stone bench over, his face full of anger. Zhang Qijian asked cautiously, "Senior brother, weren't you accompanying two junior sisters?" "Don't mention it." Ding Wanping slapped the table and recounted what had just happened. Zhang Qijian grew angry as well. That Jiang Fan is truly something, daring to offend senior brother. "Don't worry, senior brother, I'll make sure he pays tomorrow." Ding Wanping frowned. "Won't there be problems? Tomorrow is the elders' selection of disciples. If something happens to him, what if the elders ask about it?" Zhang Qijian laughed heartily. "Senior brother, what are you thinking? Who is he? What elder knows him? Don't worry, I'll make sure he never has a chance to meet the elders, completely cutting off any chance of being noticed by them." Ding Wanping thought carefully and agreed. Something Elder Li Qingfeng didn't want, why would any other elder want it? He could die without anyone knowing. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 91, Kicking an Iron Board. The next day. At dawn, as the sky brightened, the square gradually became lively. Groups of new disciples gathered in the square, waiting to be selected by the elders. If they could catch the eye of an elder, they would rise to prominence and become esteemed inner sect disciples. Otherwise, they would remain outer sect disciples with no hope of advancement. "Fan, don't be nervous," Xu Yining said gently. "Gongsun Nan thinks highly of you, there's no need to worry." Chen Silan leaned on his shoulder happily. "Yes, if you don't get into the inner sect, there's truly no justice." The two of them had entered the inner sect by luck, thanks to Jiang Fan. It would make no sense for Jiang Fan to be left out. Jiang Fan held them both and smiled slightly. "I'll do my best." Suddenly, a disciple wearing the uniform of the Reward and Punishment Hall approached with a stern expression. "Are you Jiang Fan? I heard you trespassed in the female disciples' spirit pond yesterday. Come with me, I have some questions for you." Jiang Fan was shocked and said, "This is a misunderstanding." The disciple replied coldly, "I'll give you a chance to explain." Jiang Fan felt helpless and said, "All right." Xu Yining and Chen Silan's expressions changed slightly. "We'll go with you." How could Jiang Fan let the two girls know about such a matter? Moreover, the Reward and Punishment Hall was a formidable place, and they would not be allowed in. "No need, you wait here. I'll be back soon." He followed the Reward and Punishment Hall disciple and quickly left. However, gradually, Jiang Fan noticed something was wrong. The disciple did not take him to the Reward and Punishment Hall but led him to a secluded and sparsely populated area. "Where are you taking me?" Jiang Fan stopped walking and asked sternly. "Shua." Suddenly, a figure jumped down from a tree above. He brandished a long blade and struck at Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan, who had been on guard, instinctively used his movement technique and left a series of afterimages, retreating several paces. The figure missed, revealing Zhang Qijian's face. "Zhang Qijian." Jiang Fan's eyes flashed a cold light. "I knew it was you. If I'm not mistaken, Lu Yang, who tricked me into the female spirit pond yesterday, was also following your orders." Zhang Qijian sneered. He waved to the Reward and Punishment Hall disciple, who gave Jiang Fan a glance before leaving silently. It was obvious he was also following Zhang Qijian's orders to lure Jiang Fan here. So what if it was? Zhang Qijian said with an evil smile. "I said, in Lonely Boat City, I couldn't do anything to you. But in the Green Cloud sect, killing you is as easy as pie." Jiang Fan smiled faintly. "And just with you, a defeated man under my hand." Zhang Qijian was immediately reminded of the shameful defeat during their duel. His eyes blazed with anger. That was a duel. I held back, which is why I was at a disadvantage. Do you really think someone at Foundation Establishment 3rd layer can ride over my head? Today, I'll show you my true strength. With the intention of avenging his shame, he swung his blade at Jiang Fan. 5 Tiger's soul-breaking blade. Jiang Fan just shook his head slightly. No improvement at all, my pointers were wasted. This time, he didn't even use his sword. He picked up a tree branch casually and said, I'll use this to teach you a lesson today. Lonely star points. Pa! The branch struck Zhang Qijian's face, leaving a bloody mark. The stinging pain infuriated Zhang Qijian. You're courting death. He wielded his blade with the intent to kill Jiang Fan, each move ruthless. Jiang Fan's eyes turned cold. He would show no mercy. 3 stars illuminating the moon. Ah! Zhang Qijian screamed as the branch pierced one of his eyes. I'll kill you. I'll kill you, he shouted, swinging his blade wildly. But to Jiang Fan, his moves were as childish as a baby's. Jiang Fan decided to use 7 stars to the north. The branch swept Zhang Qijian away, and his blade fell from his hand. Covering his bleeding eye, Zhang Qijian shouted venomously, What are you waiting for? Chop him up and feed him to the dogs. Shua, Shua, Shua. At his command, several older outer sect disciples jumped down from the trees. They all had high cultivation levels. At least Foundation Establishment 3rd layer, with some at 4th layer. There were 9 of them in total. Jiang Fan felt a sinking dread. Unless he used the purple sword, a quick victory would be difficult. The opponents did not hold back, and the 9 of them immediately rushed forward, forcing Jiang Fan into a tough battle, relying on his movement technique. Zhang Qijian, seeing that Jiang Fan could not be killed quickly, was not anxious and sneered venomously, Don't rush, exhaust him slowly. He's the one in a hurry. The elders are already selecting disciples. If he misses this, he will never have another chance. Ha ha. Jiang Fan was indeed feeling anxious. Today was the day to change his fate. If he missed the elders' selection, his hope of becoming an inner sect disciple would be lost forever. Zhang Qijian laughed angrily, Trap him here, I'm going to Medicine Peak to treat my eye. Enduring the pain, he ran to Medicine Peak. Passing by the square, he indeed saw many elders who had already chosen their disciples and were preparing to leave. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the square, Xu Yining and Chen Silin were anxiously waiting. Zhang Qijian walked over with a cold smile, Junior Sister Yining, Junior Sister Xiling, give up. Jiang Fan will never become an inner sect disciple. Xu Yining's face changed, realizing the situation might have been a trap for Jiang Fan. Did you do this? Where is Jiang Fan? Where is he? Seeing Xu Yining's anxious look, Zhang Qijian felt satisfied and laughed. When that loser shamed me, he should have expected this day. This is the Green Cloud sect, my territory. Chen Silin, also anxious, said coldly, I'll go to our master to complain. Zhang Qijian wasn't afraid, spreading his hands, then you'd better hurry. If you're too late, the elders will all be gone. He laughed. The 2 women were both angry and worried. Even if they got justice for Jiang Fan, it would take time. Jiang Fan would have no chance to be selected by the elders again. You are despicable, Xu Yining said with utter disdain. Zhang Qijian licked his lips, smiling, if you want Jiang Fan to come quickly, it's not impossible. Beg me on your knees. Pa! Chen Silin spat, disgusting. She knew that even if they knelt down, Zhang Qijian wouldn't bring Jiang Fan. Zhang Qijian laughed even harder, then let Jiang Fan remain an outer sect disciple forever. No elder will ever know he exists. Ha ha ha. At this moment, on a bird from Carefree Peak, standing beside the peak master, Gongsun Nan scratched his head and said, Strange. Where is he? He had looked through the crowd several times but couldn't find Jiang Fan. The Carefree Peak master beside him mumbled, Maybe you drank too much and mistook a rock for a sword prodigy. Gongsun Nan's face darkened, as this disciple that confused. Suddenly, he saw 2 beautiful women on the edge of the crowd. Instantly delighted, he jumped off the bird and ran to Xu Yining and Chen Silin, excitedly saying, Junior sisters, where is Jiang Fan? Ask him to come forward quickly. My master stayed up all night, waiting to take him as a disciple. The laughing Zhang Qijian's expression suddenly froze. Chapter 92, picked up a big bargain. He swallowed hard. The carefree peak master, the third-ranked and powerful elder, wanted to take Jiang Fan as a disciple. Did he hear it wrong? What made his heart sink was that Xu Yining and Chen Silin seemed to see a savior. Senior brother Gongsun, please help Jiang Fan. The two women pleaded anxiously. Gongsun Nan was stunned. Junior brother Jiang is in the Green Cloud sect, does anyone still dare to do anything to him? This was the Green Cloud sect, who would dare to be reckless in the sect? Xu Yining angrily pointed at Zhang Qizhan and said, he instructed someone from the reward and punishment hall to trick Jiang Fan away. He also refused to tell us Jiang Fan's whereabouts. What? Gongsun Nan's face instantly darkened, he slowly turned his head and coldly stared at Zhang Qizhan. Cold air seemed to seep from his mouth. You have quite the nerve, daring to frame someone my carefree peak has taken a liking to. Zhang Qizhan trembled. In front of him was one of the top 10 disciples of the Green Cloud sect. His strength was so great that he could crush him with one finger, and his family's influence was even more unimaginable. Zhang Qizhan stuttered, I didn't know that Jiang Fan was someone you fancied. Gongsun Nan slowly approached, his face almost touching Zhang Qizhan's nose, and coldly said, is it that you can't tell me where he is either? This scared Zhang Qizhan so much that his soul almost left his body. He quickly said, I'll lead the way. He felt extremely anxious as he hurriedly headed back the way he came. At this moment, he hoped more than anyone that Jiang Fan was unharmed. Otherwise, the consequences were unimaginable. Gongsun Nan followed him and soon arrived at the secluded path. From a distance, they saw that Jiang Fan, holding a tree branch, was fighting evenly against 9 outer sect disciples with cultivations similar to his. It was clearly just an ordinary tree branch, yet in his hand it was wielded with skill and mastery. This made Gongsun Nan overjoyed. Junior brother Yang's sword Dao mastery is simply perfect. I must have this junior brother. At the night market, Jiang Fan had only casually practiced a set of sword moves. But now he was exerting himself fully, his swordsmanship displayed perfectly, making Gongsun Nan marvel. Zhang Qizhan hurriedly shouted, Stop, everyone stop. The 9 outer sect disciples were stunned, and seeing Gongsun Nan, all turned pale with fright. At this moment, Jiang Fan also noticed Gongsun Nan, Xu Yining, and Chen Silin approaching, knowing he still had a chance. Thank you, senior brother Gongsun. There is no time to lose. I need to return to the square and not keep the carefree peak master waiting. The group quickly returned to the square. Li Qingfeng had already chosen a disciple, who was barely satisfactory. Seeing that his friend, the carefree peak master, had not yet chosen, he approached and said, Old Zhao, just pick one. Although none of them are promising, it is our sect's rule that each peak must select a new disciple. In fact, nearly all the elders of the peaks looked down on the remaining newcomers on the square. The reason being simple. The newcomers left on the square were those abandoned by various elders. The likelihood of any good seedlings among them was almost zero. The carefree peak master, Zhao Wuji, smiled. Gongsun Nan found an excellent newcomer and insisted I take him as a disciple. Oh, Li Qingfeng was astonished. Impossible. With your disciple Gongsun Nan's cultivation, what kind of exceptional newcomer would he deem excellent? Even the 2 top grade and 7th grade spirit roots I just accepted might not be considered excellent by him. Which elder was so careless to leave such an outstanding talent? Zhao Wuji stroked his beard with pride. He glanced discreetly at the few surrounding elders without disciples and said softly, If you hadn't chosen your disciple, I wouldn't dare tell you, lest you compete with me. Gongsun Nan said this person's sword Dao talent surpasses his, their future sword Dao mastery will be no less than his. What? Li Qingfeng was immensely surprised. Gongsun Nan was a strong swordsman who primarily trained in swordsmanship. He always took pride in his swordsmanship. He actually admitted inferiority, so how high must this person's swordsmanship be? Seeing Zhao Wuji's hopeful expression, Li Qingfeng immediately regretted choosing too early. It turned out that among the newcomers, some good seedlings were overlooked. Unfortunately, he already selected his disciple and had no chance now. Ah, old Zhao, you're really lucky to stumble upon such a great find. Li Qingfeng was envious. However, I do want to know which elder missed this disciple. Later, he might regret it terribly. Zhao Wuji chuckled. who knows which blind eyes left this treasure for my carefree peak. At this moment, he saw Gongsun Nan bringing someone back and couldn't help but stand up, saying, "Here they come." Li Qingfeng quickly looked over. But as Gongsun Nan brought the person closer, Li Qingfeng was stunned. Jiang Fan. Zhao Wuji laughed heartily. "Yes, this boy is called Jiang Fan." "Wait, how do you know his name?" Li Qingfeng looked oddly. "Old Zhao, the sword Dao genius you mentioned, is it him?" Zhao Wuji also realized something and said in surprise, "Old Li, was this disciple the one you rejected?" "Ha ha." Li Qingfeng suddenly laughed, patting Zhao Wuji on the shoulder. "Old Zhao, you're killing me with laughter. So, after all, the sword Dao genius you mentioned was him." Gongsun Nan below looked confused. "Elder Li, Jiang Fan's sword Dao talent is my discovery, is there something wrong with that?" Li Qingfeng laughed, then asked him what the result was when I tested his spirit root. Zhao Wuji and Gongsun Nan both looked at Jiang Fan. With such strong sword Dao talent, how weak could his spirit root be? At least it would be a 5th grade spirit root, right? Jiang Fan calmly said, "The result may not be accurate." "Oh." Li Qingfeng suddenly paused. "Weren't you mute?" Jiang Fan said, "As it is now, what Elder Li sees may not be the truth." Li Qingfeng scoffed, not caring why Jiang Fan pretended to be mute. "What? Embarrassed to say? Then let me answer for you. His test result was, no spirit root." "Ah." Zhao Wuji and Gongsun Nan both paused. "No spirit root." Li Qingfeng chuckled. "Otherwise, why would I reject him as a disciple? He might have some sword Dao talent, but how far can someone without a spirit root go on the martial path? Old Zhao, you need to be cautious." Zhao Wuji hesitated. Sword Dao talent was important, but for a martial artist, the spirit root was fundamental. Should he accept or not? Meanwhile, Xu Yining and Chen Silan, who thought they had victory in hand, also looked worried. Jiang Fan involuntarily clenched his fists. Was it possible he would still fail? Zhang Qizhan let out a long breath, relieved that no elder chose this guy. Otherwise, if any elder had his back, what Zhang Qizhan had just done would be enough to get him executed by the sect. However, at this moment, Su Chuning, also searching for Jiang Fan, noticed the commotion and immediately cried out in surprise. "Master, Master! It's him! It's him!" Wen Hongyao spotted Jiang Fan and joyfully rode the white crane over, pushing Zhao Wuji and Li Qingfeng aside. "Zhao Wuji, Li Qingfeng, get out of my way. This disciple, my medicine peak will take. Anyone who competes with me, I will fight." Chapter 93 Sect Master Peak also comes to grab. Hesitant Zhao Wuji was forcibly pushed aside. Bewildered, he said, "Elder Wen, what are you doing?" Wen Hongyao sternly said, "Don't you understand? I want to take Jiang Fan as a disciple. Get out of the way, don't be a hindrance." "What?" Zhao Wuji was at a loss, looking astonished at Li Qingfeng. "Old Li, are you not tricking me? If he had no spirit root, would Elder Wen be so eager to take him?" Li Qingfeng was also utterly shocked. He must have seen a ghost. Why is everyone fighting over someone he considered a worthless piece of trash? The detection result of no spirit root is definitely not wrong. Li Qingfeng confirmed. Zhao Wuji was puzzled. What puzzled him even more was that Wen Hongyao, who was notoriously ill-tempered and harsh on disciples, seemed to have taken the wrong medicine. On her face appeared an unprecedented kind expression strange to the elders. "Jiang Fan, come, join my medicine peak, I will take you as a disciple." "No, not just a disciple, but a true disciple." "What?" The elders in the sky and the disciples on the ground. Everyone, without exception, was stunned. Knowing clearly that Jiang Fan had no spirit root and had no future in the martial path, she still accepted him as a disciple. And even unprecedentedly took him as a true disciple. Jiang Fan was the unwanted, leftover disciple. This was unprecedented in the history of the Green Cloud sect. Jiang Fan was also extremely surprised. Why was he so valued by Elder Wen? However, this greatly lifted his spirits from his previous dejection. Immediately he showed a smile and was about to bow to take her as his master. "Hold on." Zhao Wuji, dissatisfied, stopped him, saying, "Elder Wen, I was the one who spotted this boy first. If he is to bow, it should be to join my carefree peak first. Jiang Fan, come to my carefree peak, I will personally guide you in swordsmanship and will not let your talent go to waste. The person who made Wen Hongyao break the precedent of the Green Cloud sect couldn't be bad. He had to take him. Wen Hongyao was instantly furious. Do you think this is a vegetable market where whoever sees first gets it? Is this reasonable? I was the first to take a disciple, he should belong to my medicine peak. Zhao Wuji snorted, you are being unreasonable, I was in the process of discussing taking him as a disciple, and you jumped in. Wen Hongyao's fiery temper was instantly ignited, she slapped her thigh and spat angrily, Zhao Wuji. Are you deliberately opposing me? Zhao Wuji was also very displeased, want to fight? Then come on. Who's afraid of whom? Wen Hongyao jumped up, and took several red and green bottles from her waist, if you fight me for him, I'll poison you to death. Zhao Wuji was not to be outdone, drawing his sword from his waist, I'll stab you to death, you old shrew. The two were ready to draw their swords and fight. Just to vie for Jiang Fan, they were about to tear the elders, faces off and fight in front of the many new disciples. This unprecedented scene left the other elders in shock, mouths agape. Even a disciple with a 6th grade spirit root wouldn't cause such a dispute between two elders. Just when the battle was about to break out, Lu Qingxian, who was also searching for Jiang Fan, exclaimed in surprise, Dad, it's him. It's him. The Green Cloud sect master Lu Wuchen sat cross-legged on a white crane. Following the excited gaze of his daughter, he looked at the disciple who was being fought over by the two elders and said in surprise, you have set your eyes on him. Didn't Elder Li say that he has no spirit root? You want Dad to take him as a disciple? Lu Qingxian anxiously said, Dad, trust your daughter, taking him is not wrong. Lu Wuchen slightly frowned, not very willing. Elder Wen taking him is probably because he has some talent in refining medicine. Elder Zhao taking him is likely because he has some sword Dao talent. But our sect master peak needs prodigies with exceptional spirit roots, he isn't suitable for our sect master peak. Seeing the two elders about to start a fight, Jiang Fan was soon to be taken by one of the elders. Lu Qingxian gritted her teeth, called a flying crane, jumped on it, and quickly flew to the center of the two elders. Hold on, she shouted crisply. Seeing that it was the sect master's daughter, Wen Hongyao showed a slightly more polite expression. Fairy Lu, step aside, I want to deal with this old geezer. Zhao Wuji also snorted, Qingxian, don't stop your Uncle Zhao, I want to teach this shrew a lesson. Who knew? Lu Qingxian gave each of them a glare. Who wants to stop you? If you want to fight, go fight somewhere else but don't hurt my junior brother. Then, with her enchanting face showing a smile, she reached out her jade hand to Jiang Fan, come on, go back to Sect Master Peak with me. What? This time, no one could remain calm. The fight over Jiang Fan between Medicine Peak and Carefree Peak was one thing. But Sect Master Peak also joined in the fight. Xu Yining and Chen Silin were both bewildered. Siling, what's so good about Jiang Fan that so many peaks are fighting over him? Xu Yining was puzzled. Chen Silin's mind also couldn't figure it out. Although she knew that with Jiang Fan's identity as a 3-star soul master, it wouldn't be unusual for all 9 peaks to fight over him. But, this identity of Jiang Fan couldn't be revealed. Then why were they all so fond of Jiang Fan? However, she soon showed a sweet smile, no wonder he is our husband, no matter where he goes, he is the center of attention. Li Qingfeng was stunned, has Sect Master Peak gone mad? Actually coming out to snatch Jiang Fan. He reminded, Fairy Lu, Jiang Fan has no spirit root, think carefully. Lu Qingxian glanced at him, her eyes showing a hint of amusement. 9th grade spirit root, no, it was an existence beyond the 9th grade spirit root, yet you identified him as having no spirit root. None of your business. Then, she again showed a kind smile to Jiang Fan, what are you waiting for? Sect Master Peak is the strongest peak in Green Cloud Sect, with all the top-level resources. Jiang Fan immediately tempted. But, Wen Hongyao and Zhao Wuji refused to accept it. Fairy Lu, what do you mean? You also want to take someone from my medicine peak? Wen Hongyao was anxious. Zhao Wuji also couldn't understand, what was with this Jiang Fan. Clearly, up until yesterday, he was an unwanted discarded disciple. Why today, even Sect Master Peak came to snatch him? Qingxian, why have you also started fighting with your Uncle Zhao? Sect Master Lu Wuchen's brows slightly furrowed. He flew over on a white crane and gently reprimanded, Qingxian, stop this nonsense. Our sect master Peak can't just casually take disciples. He discreetly glanced at the great elder not far away. This time, the great elder took in a very powerful new disciple, whereas the sect master Peak had not yet found a suitable one. How could they waste the precious disciple spot on someone with no spirit root? Lu Qingxian realized she couldn't hide it anymore. She lowered her voice and whispered, Dad, this Jiang Fan is not someone without a spirit root. He is the 9th-grade spirit root from Lonely Boat City. Lu Wuchen said in astonishment, didn't Deputy Pavilion Master Chen personally test and find that it was a mistake? Lu Qingxian also showed a puzzled look. The tested person was called Lu Zheng. Why the detection tower showed him as a 9th-grade spirit root, I don't know either. But this person is definitely a 9th-grade spirit root, possibly even the legendary infinite spirit root. Chapter 94, Provocation. Infinite spirit root. Lu Wuchen chuckled and shook his head, you really dare to say that? The infinite spirit root requires a bloodline inheritance. Only if the parents are extremely powerful, there is a slight chance that their offspring might be born with the infinite spirit root. This Jiang Fan, who comes from the small Lonely Boat City, can't possibly have the infinite spirit root. This, Lu Qingxian also felt unsure. But she firmly believed in Jiang Fan's extraordinary talent and said, but I personally saw him break through several levels in succession. He is much stronger than me, who has a 7th-grade spirit root. Li Qingfeng heard this. He couldn't help but step in to explain, lest everyone truly thought he, Li Qingfeng, was blind for eliminating a disciple who had reached the 3rd layer of foundation establishment. Sect Master, Fairy Lu, you don't understand. This disciple only broke through by overexerting his potential. Thus, his early cultivation was fast, but in the later stages, I can say confidently that he will remain at the 3rd layer of foundation establishment for life, unable to progress further. This confirmed Lu Wuchen's suspicion. He nodded slowly, did you hear that? It's just a devious method. Lu Qingxian bit her red lips. She was full of dissatisfaction. If his cultivation was devious, then what about his performance in the Dragon Rising path? How could such a devious method allow a person without a spirit root to defeat Nangong Luyun at the 13th level? She wanted to mention this as well. But seeing her father's complete lack of trust, she couldn't help but hold back her words. She was determined to prove to her father that she was not wrong. Lu Wuchen had no intention of indulging her any longer and said, all right, our sect master Peak will not accept this disciple, the 2 elders may continue. Just as he finished speaking, Lu Qingxian suddenly bit her silver teeth and whispered, Father, I have already privately promised my life to Jiang Fan. If you don't take him as a disciple, then prepare for your daughter to elope with him. What? Lu Wuchen's pupils shrank, and he immediately realized his daughter was lying. He understood his daughter's character. Pure and self-disciplined, wholeheartedly focused on the martial path, never sparing a man a second glance. The young pavilion master of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion pursued her crazily, and she didn't give him the slightest chance. How could she be involved with a poor boy? Unexpectedly, Lu Qingxian twirled her fingers around her hair and pointed her lips towards Jiang Fan. If you don't believe me, ask him. Didn't we meet naked in the spirit pond yesterday? She was half-truthful. Naked. Lu Wuchen's heart skipped a beat, and he shouted, You, how could you do such a thing? Don't think you can deceive your father. It was evident that he was nervous. Lu Qingxian showed a shy expression and said, he has the infinite spirit root. I gave myself to him to keep him here, for the good of the Green Cloud sect, and for you, father. My heavens! Lu Wuchen felt the world spinning and almost fell off the white crane. His cherished daughter had lost her purity to a useless person without a spirit root. How would he be able to face anyone in the future? At this moment, Lu Qingxian delivered another blow. Father, if you don't accept him as a disciple, then your daughter will have no choice but to elope with him. By then, it will be impossible to hide our affair. Hearing these words, Lu Wuchen felt suffocated. Family shame must not be shared. He would rather die than let anyone know about this. Especially the Great Elder. Otherwise, the Great Elder would use this as another reason to accuse him of being an incompetent sect master. The only solution now was to accept Jiang Fan as a disciple. First, to keep an eye on him and prevent him from going out and revealing the secret. Second, in case the secret got out, he could claim that their feelings developed while they were senior sister and junior brother, deciding to spend their lives together, thus quelling public gossip. In an instant, he considered many aspects. So when he looked at Jiang Fan again, his expression was extremely complex. Filled with the anger of having his treasured cabbage of 20 years taken by a pig, as well as the helplessness of worrying about the shame being exposed. Ultimately, swallowing all his grievances, he forced a satisfied expression and said, "Jiang Fan, Qingxian holds you in high esteem. This sect master has decided to give you an opportunity to showcase yourself. Do you wish to become my disciple?" Anyone with a bit of sense knew that the position of a sect master's disciple was higher than that of a peak master's disciple. How could he hesitate? He bowed deeply. "Disciple Jiang Fan, greets the sect master. When Hongyao stomped in frustration, "This is a cheat." Zhao Wuji was also full of helplessness. "Ah. With the sect master participating personally, what am I supposed to compete with?" Clap clap clap. At this moment, someone started clapping. Dressed in a gray robe, exuding an aura of authority without anger, with eyes as sharp as a hawk's. It was none other than the great elder of Green Cloud sect, Feng Guchen. He clapped with a mocking smile. "The sect master has such unique insight to take a disciple without a spirit root. I truly admire you, truly admire you. Our Green Cloud sect is indeed fortunate to have a disciple with such extraordinary vision." His sarcastic ridicule left Lu Wuchen feeling humiliated. He forced himself to remain calm and said, "The great elder is mistaken. Spirit roots are just one aspect of a martial artist. Jiang Fan may still have great potential." Lu Qingxian did not share her father's restraint. Without hesitation, she snorted, "Rest assured, my father's disciple is beyond your reach." The great elder laughed heartily. "Is that so? In the new disciples I accepted this time, there is a prodigy with a 7th grade spirit root. Are you suggesting that he is inferior to this spirit root-less martial path failure?" Lu Qingxian raised her slender neck. "Yes." Many of the elders looked at each other in confusion. They couldn't understand why Lu Qingxian valued someone without a spirit root so highly. Beside the great elder stood a young man holding a sword, his gaze rebellious, his aura extraordinary. Upon hearing this, his eyes flashed with sharpness. "Senior sister Lu, my name is Cao Zhen, 7th grade spirit root." So, he was the top-level prodigy selected by the great elder. Knowing he had a 7th grade spirit root, the elders all showed envy. Cao Zhen looked at Lu Qingxian with admiration. "I have long admired senior sister Lu, always hearing that you are an exceptional prodigy. Seeing you today, it is indeed true." Lu Qingxian glanced at him. If this were before, she would be regretful that such a prodigy had joined the great elder. But now, with Jiang Fan, the 7th grade spirit root no longer mattered to her. "What do you want to say?" Lu Qingxian asked coldly. Cao Zhen smiled faintly. "Senior sister Lu looks down on me so much, thinking I am not even worth a spirit root-less failure. Junior brother feels dissatisfied. Coincidentally, in half a month's time, it's the day for new disciples to pay homage to the ancestors of the Green Cloud sect. According to tradition, new disciples will compete before the statue of the ancestors. At that time, I would like to spar with junior brother Jiang for a bit." Everyone watched Cao Zhen with interest. He seemed to have some intentions. Indeed, Cao Zhen smiled. "If I win against your esteemed Jiang Fan, can I ask senior sister Lu to accompany me under the moonlight and share 3 cups of wine? Consider it an apology for looking down on me." What a rascal. He dared to flirt with Lu Qingxian in public. The great elder's faction truly had no regard for the sect master. The newly accepted disciple even dared to be so presumptuous in public. A trace of sharpness appeared between Lu Wuchen's eyebrows. He was about to scold him. But Lu Qingxian slightly curled her lips and asked with a half-smile, "What if Jiang Fan wins?" Chapter 95 is finished, and another sister has been added. What? Lu Qingxian actually planned to accept the bet. She probably didn't know what cultivation level Cao Zhen was at, right? Lu Wuchen's expression also changed slightly, and he whispered, "Qingxian, don't fall for it. How could a mere new disciple have the courage to tease the sect master's daughter? It was obviously under the Great Elder's instigation, to give Sect Master Peak a slap in the face. But Lu Qingxian was full of confidence in Jiang Fan, and she whispered, "Father, this is precisely the chance to get back at them. The Great Elder is proud of this 7th grade spirit root. Then, we will fiercely defeat him in the field he is most proud of." After speaking, she looked at Cao Zhen again. "I'm asking you, what if you lose?" Cao Zhen smiled and said, "Senior Sister Lu, you probably don't understand me yet." He slowly released his spiritual power. The purity of it surprised the elders present greatly. Foundation establishment 4th layer. No wonder it's 7th grade spirit root, achieving this level of cultivation at such a young age. He is not at all inferior to the Lu Qingxian of the past. Even Li Qingfeng showed a look of envy. If Xu Yining had the foundation of the Cao family, he wouldn't be worse than Cao Zhen, I'm sure of it. What a pity. Lu Wuchen was slightly surprised. He felt it would be self-humiliation for Lu Qingxian. Not only was there a realm difference between them, but could Jiang Fan compare to the foundation of the Cao family? Cao Zhen's cultivation technique was much more advanced than Jiang Fan's. The result of their duel in half a month was predictable without thinking. But Lu Qingxian showed a playful expression. "Which layer of the Dragon Rising path have you reached?" Cao Zhen boasted proudly, "The 12th layer. Only second to that unparalleled prodigy." These words made the elders present reveal expressions of astonishment. They had long heard of the unparalleled prodigy who had reached the 13th layer. Such a person would definitely be a colossal figure in the future. Unexpectedly, Cao Zhen was only second to him. A faint, nearly imperceptible cold smile crossed Lu Qingxian's lips. "Pretty impressive. Now, answer my question. What happens if you lose?" Cao Zhen frowned. He felt a bit angry. He had already shown such excellent strength, yet Lu Qingxian still thought he might lose. And lose to a waste with no spirit root. He snorted lightly, "If I lose, I will leave Reincarnation Peak and join Sect Master Peak." Lu Wuchen's eyes lit up. But then they dimmed. He did cherish this 7th grade spirit root, but unfortunately, Jiang Fan had no chance of winning. Lu Qingxian smiled slightly, "Deal. Look forward to your withdrawal from Reincarnation Peak." Jiang Fan was utterly confused. He raised his hand. Senior sister, shouldn't you ask for my opinion first? A bet should at least consider the person involved, right?" He inexplicably got into trouble with the Great Elder's disciple. Wouldn't it bring trouble in the future? Lu Qingxian walked over to him with a sweet smile, whispered into his ear, "Did you see Senior Sister's body for nothing?" Jiang Fan's face turned red, and he muttered, "I didn't see anything, okay." The mist in the spirit pond was so thick, he only saw a vague outline. Lu Qingxian noticed his reddened face, and blinked. "Really, you're blushing." Jiang Fan couldn't stand her, so he moved away and said, "I agree. Let's not mention the spirit pond matter again." Lu Qingxian covered her mouth and laughed lightly, finding Jiang Fan more interesting. It seemed he was still an innocent young boy. She couldn't help but reveal the truth, no longer teasing him. "Letting you participate in the duel is for your own good. Every new disciple worshipping the patriarch selects the most outstanding new disciple. Green Cloud Sect gives out a reward for this. That is entering the scripture pavilion to choose a cultivation technique." What? There was such a benefit. He had always wanted to replace his swordsmanship with a higher level one, but had never had the chance. Jiang Fan smiled. "Great. I accept the challenge." Cao Zhen watched the two so intimately, a trace of jealousy flickering in his eyes. He looked at Jiang Fan from a distance and said, "Half a month later, we will compete. Hope you don't lose too quickly." He swore to himself that he would harshly teach Jiang Fan a lesson in front of Lu Qingxian. He would let Lu Qingxian see for herself that the person she favored so much would be beaten by him like a dead dog. Not long after, the elders and disciples gradually dispersed. Jiang Fan bid farewell to Xu Yining and Chen Silin, following Lu Wuchen to Sect Master Peak. Xu Yining watched Jiang Fan leave, then glanced at Lu Qingxian's purple figure, sighing helplessly. "Siling, you are about to have a younger sister." Chen Silin smiled wryly. She also understood and said, "The sect master's daughter indeed seems very interested in Jiang Fan." Xu Yining rubbed her temples and said, "What kind of vision do you two have? How can you both be fascinated by Jiang Fan? I really don't get what's so good about him. The reason she loved Jiang Fan was because of their 10-year-long companionship and the deep affection Jiang Fan had for her. But why did Chen Silin suddenly fall for Jiang Fan? And even willingly became a concubine? Fine, let's say Chen Silin and the Chen family were forced by the circumstances then, and had to agree reluctantly. But why did the Green Cloud sect master's daughter also fall for Jiang Fan, who already had 2 wives? It left her puzzled. Chen Silin could only smile bitterly at this. In her view, it wasn't that Lu Qingxian was lowering herself. But unconsciously, she had climbed up to a gigantic support. Sect Master Peak. Lu Wuchen returned in a bad mood. Jiang Fan, now that you have become my disciple, focus solely on the martial path from now on. Stay on the peak and cultivate, avoid going out, and don't spread any unfavorable rumors about the peak, understand? Jiang Fan felt utterly lost. Even if he wanted to spread unfavorable rumors, he needed to know some gossip to spread. Just arriving, where could he hear gossip? Although feeling that such admonition was rather inexplicable, he still listened humbly. Yes, master. Lu Wuchen was fairly satisfied with his attitude and handed him some items. These are your resources for this month, a bottle of low-grade Foundation Establishment pills, and 100 crystal stones. Here is the key to your cave residence. Moreover, starting from tomorrow, your task is to collect honey. Hearing the first part, Lu Qingxian was indifferent. But upon hearing that Jiang Fan was to collect honey, Lu Qingxian objected. Father, Jiang Fan just arrived, and you ask him to collect honey. Those wolf head bees are very fierce. They sting anyone on sight, causing unbearable pain. He has no experience at all, and you make him go. This is retaliatory punishment. Wolf head bees. Jiang Fan had read in the Undying Medical Book that they were a precious type of spirit bee. The honey they produced contained unique spiritual energy, even high-tier cultivators rarely had the chance to taste it. However, as Lu Qingxian said, collecting wolf head bee honey was quite dangerous. With no experience, one could end up with a head full of stings, crying in agony. Fortunately, the medical book mentioned a kind of medicine that could easily handle wolf head bees. Lu Wuchen's face was stern. Every disciple on this peak has duties, Jiang Fan is no exception. Not only must he collect honey, but also ensure he collects a pound within 3 days. If he doesn't meet the quota, he will be punished. Do you understand, Jiang Fan? Lu Qingxian was still ready to fight for Jiang Fan. Senior sister, I'm fine. Jiang Fan said, I assure you I will complete master's assignment. Lu Wuchen nodded. After collecting it, your big senior brother will grade your task. Don't end up in last place and become a laughingstock for the other senior brothers and sisters. Each disciple had their own duties, and after completion, they were graded by the senior disciple. This was also a form of competition among the peak's disciples. Jiang Fan's eyes flickered. What if I get a high grade? Lu Wuchen couldn't help but laugh in exasperation. Newly arrived and he wanted to outperform the other senior brothers and sisters. If you are among the top 3, you get half of the honey you collect. Half. Jiang Fan secretly rejoiced. Yes, master. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 96 Body Refinement, Minor Achievement. South side of the Sect Master Peak. A secluded courtyard near the cliff, far from the Sect Master Hall. This will be your cave residence from now on. Lu Qingxian opened the lock on the courtyard gate with the key, showing dissatisfaction. My father is clearly giving you a hard time. Not only did he assign you the most troublesome task, but he also gave you the most remote cave residence. Jiang Fan, on the other hand, really liked the place. The other senior brothers and sisters' cave residences were clustered together, closely adjacent to each other. Indeed, it was lively like that. But Jiang Fan needed private space, for activities such as alchemy, refining medicine, body refinement, and so on. Thank you for your concern, senior sister, but I am quite satisfied with this place. As for the task, don't worry, I won't let master down. Jiang Fan's lack of any complaints and positive attitude made Lu Qingxian feel a bit guilty. It was her forceful insistence that led her father to take in a disciple, resulting in Jiang Fan's tough situation. She patted Jiang Fan on the shoulder. I will also think of ways to help with the task. We must make my father look at you with new eyes. Jiang Fan smiled. After seeing Lu Qingxian off, he immediately closed the door, ensuring the door and windows had a very tight array. It would be hard for outsiders to invade or spy into. This gave him peace of mind. He immediately took out the ingredients for the fierce tiger pills and started making them on the spot. An hour later, a fragrance with a hint of rose scent wafted out from the pill furnace, and Jiang Fan knew the fierce tiger pills were complete. Opening the pill furnace, he saw several pills with white stripes on their orange surfaces resembling tiger stripes at first glance. No wonder it's called the fierce tiger pills. Jiang Fan took them out and then took out a copy of the Iron Blood True Scripture, and began to comprehend it. Body tempering and cultivation techniques were fundamentally different. They did not use the dantian and meridians but rather the muscles and bones of the body, using them to release power. Having understood roughly the first layer, he started to cultivate. First, he drew out his purple sword and, with difficulty, executed a single sword move in 3 breaths. I wonder if cultivating the first layer will make it easier to perform. He swallowed a fierce tiger pill and began practicing the Iron Blood True Scripture. After swallowing the pill, he immediately felt a burning pain in his abdomen. He knew this was the effect of the medicine kicking in. He immediately followed the method in the Iron Blood True Scripture, guiding the medicinal power to soak into his bones and muscles. The intense pain in his abdomen subsided, replaced by a burning sensation throughout his body. But this was the core of body tempering. Enduring the pain, he continuously guided the medicinal power, flushing his body again and again. Finally, after half a day, a layer of gray-brown sticky impurities with a faint stench appeared on his skin. The first layer, copper skin iron bone, the mark of initial success is the preliminary expulsion of bodily impurities. Jiang Fan's face lit up with joy. Ha ha! The Iron Blood True Scripture that no one could cultivate in the giant sect, I have achieved the first layer, copper skin iron bone. He immediately grabbed his purple sword and tried to perform a sword move. Although it still appeared a bit clumsy. But it only took him 1 breath now. It really works. Jiang Fan immediately began practicing the 7-star sword Ju. Finally, he could barely perform the entire set without struggling like before. Junior brother Jiang. At this moment, a stranger called from outside the door. Jiang Fan quickly re-wrapped his purple sword, wiped away the impurities on his body, and opened the door to look outside. It was a chubby disciple dressed in sect master peak attire. Junior brother Jiang, master calls you to the dining hall for a meal. Grr. Jiang Fan realized that he hadn't eaten anything since morning, and his stomach growled in protest. Thank you, senior brother, for reminding me. I will be there shortly. Returning to his room, he took a bath, changed into clean clothes, and went to the dining hall. About 20 disciples were already eating inside. When Jiang Fan entered, curious eyes turned towards him. So he is the little junior brother that senior sister Lu insisted master take in. I heard he has no spirit root. Senior sister Lu even bet with Cao Zhen from Reincarnation Peak for his sake. His reputation is even greater than that of junior brother Dao, the 6th grade spirit root disciple that master just took in. This time, each peak took in new disciples. Lu Wuchen did not come away empty-handed. He took in a 6th grade spirit root disciple and planned to make him this year's true disciple. Everyone looked at a heavily built figure not far away, resembling a tower, Dao Zhengzhen. He also heard the discussions. He couldn't help but look at Jiang Fan as he walked in, a hint of hostility in his eyes. Hey, newbie. Dao Zhengzhen's tone was unfriendly as he stared down Jiang Fan with eyes like bronze bells. I heard you are good at winning women's hearts. Even senior sister Lu was coaxed by you, and you were exceptionally accepted into our sect master peak. Eager to eat, Jiang Fan was suddenly provoked. He looked over and was impressed by the exaggeratedly solid build. At least 2 meters tall, his whole body was made of fat, standing like a mountain of flesh, exerting quite an intimidation. But why the provocation without any enmity? He didn't bother to respond, grabbed a bowl, and filled it with rice and lots of meat. Perhaps due to body refinement, his appetite was particularly ravenous. He'd never felt this hungry before. Sitting down, he wolfed down his meal. Dao Zhengzhen got angry, slamming his chopsticks onto the table hard. The iron chopsticks bent with the impact. You brat, are you ignoring me? He strode towards Jiang Fan like a moving hill. Many disciples watched with expressions of anticipation for drama. Some female disciples sensed something was amiss. Big senior brother, stop them. What if Jiang junior brother gets hurt? A female disciple called out to a handsome man in his 30s, dressed in green, sitting next to her. His gaze was indifferent as he said, "It's normal for newcomers to have disputes, let them compete and establish a sense of rank. This will prevent many future conflicts." This was true. All newcomers, no one wanted to be looked down upon. To avoid daily conflicts and needing the intervention of senior brothers and sisters to mediate, it was better to establish hierarchy early. This way, the weaker party would naturally keep a distance from the stronger one. Reducing conflicts, making senior brothers and sisters' lives easier. The female disciple was concerned, "Are you sure this won't escalate? Dao Zhengjin not only has a high realm, but the Dao family is also a body-refining family. Jiang Fan's thin frame might get seriously hurt." The big senior brother stayed focused on eating, speaking calmly, "Since junior brother Jiang is valued by junior sister Lu, he should bear the corresponding burden. If he can't take any injury, he might as well leave sect master peak early." The female disciple discerned a trace of jealousy. The big senior brother's admiration for Lu Qingxian was an open secret. Always aloof to other men, he was unusually attentive to Jiang Fan, indicating jealousy. She sighed lightly, "Jiang Fan, don't blame his senior brothers and sisters for not helping. Blame yourself for biting off more than you can chew." She almost saw the scene of Jiang Fan being beaten black and blue. Chapter 97, Physique Exhibition of Might. A few disciples wanted to stop him. But noticing that the big senior brother had no intention to stop it, they sensibly sat back on their benches. Dao Zhengjin's mountainous body caused a slight vibration on the ground. Though he looked clumsy, his steps were actually quick. In just a few strides, he reached Jiang Fan's back. His enormous body cast a heavy shadow, engulfing Jiang Fan completely. Still eating. Dao Zhengjin saw Jiang Fan still eating without any regard for him, which made him chuckle in anger. "Do you really think that just because senior sister Lu favors you, you can do whatever you want?" He grabbed Jiang Fan's shoulder and snorted coldly. "Let me tell you, the hierarchy among newcomers is established through skill, not women. Got it?" Jiang Fan put down his chopsticks. His brows gradually furrowed, and he said calmly, "Take your hand off." Dao Zhengjin laughed and instead of letting go, he slowly increased his grip. He practiced the dual cultivation of body and magic. The strength in his hand could easily crush a rock. Anyone caught in his grip wouldn't be able to free themselves unless their bones were broken. "What, feeling defiant? Let's see what you've got." He was ready for Jiang Fan to use his spiritual power. Even anticipating what moves Jiang Fan would use. However, Jiang Fan did something none of the disciples present had expected. He reached out his palm and grabbed Dao Zhengjin's hand. Due to the difference in their sizes, Jiang Fan's hand appeared like a baby's hand grasping an adult's palm. Dao Zhengjin couldn't help but laugh. "What, you want to compete in strength with me? You scrawny thing, how much strength do you think you have?" Even the big senior brother from a distance showed a trace of disdain. When engaging in battle, one should avoid others' strengths and attack their weaknesses. But Jiang Fan chose to confront Dao Zhengjin head-on in his strongest domain. Such a mindset, yet he's fit to be a disciple of the sect master peak. However, in the next moment, a sudden scream echoed in the dining hall. It was Dao Zhengjin's. The big senior brother glanced sideways in surprise, his pupils shrinking. Jiang Fan's seemingly small palm effortlessly grabbed Dao Zhengjin's wrist, slowly and steadily removing his hand from his shoulder. Without using much strength, he caused Dao Zhengjin, who practiced body refinement, to jump in pain. As he tried to pull his hand back, it was as if clamped by iron, unable to retrieve it. This scene left the disciples in shock. Then, Jiang Fan easily flung, and the tower-like Dao Zhengjin was sent retreating repeatedly by an immense force. He collided with a supporting pillar, causing the entire roof to shake. Feeling humiliated, Dao Zhengjin looked around at the stupefied gazes around him. "Let's go again," he roared, running and pouncing forward. He threw his fists fiercely at Jiang Fan's back. Jiang Fan, feeling annoyed, stood up suddenly and said, "If I don't knock you down, I can't eat properly." Faced with the incoming fists, he responded with equally unskilled punches. Pa! It sounded like a whip cracking against the ground. Dao Zhengzhen's massive running body suddenly bounced back as if hitting a wall, knocking over several tables, lying on the ground groaning in pain. His arms were in severe pain as if the bones were shattered, unable even to bend. In contrast, Jiang Fan expressionlessly walked to him with his hands behind his back. One foot on his chest. With just a slight force, the pain made Dao Zhengzhen scream like a pig being slaughtered. "Do you still want to compete?" Jiang Fan asked indifferently. Dao Zhengzhen immediately understood. He had encountered someone whose body refinement realm far exceeded his own. He shook his head and conceded, "No more, no more, I give up, I surrender." Only then did Jiang Fan remove his foot, allowing Dao Zhengzhen to finally breathe. Recalling the previous scene, Dao Zhengzhen completely feared Jiang Fan, shrank his neck, and kept his distance, not daring to provoke him again. The disciples were dumbfounded. Wow, junior brother Jiang really hides his strength. He's actually a body technique expert. No wonder senior sister Lu favors him so much. A talent, definitely a talent. Our Green Cloud sect has very few body refinement practitioners, now our sect Master Peak has produced a good seedling for body refinement. Pa! A crisp sound was heard. The big senior brother put down his chopsticks, and with his hands behind his back, he strode imposingly towards Jiang Fan. "Causing trouble in the dining hall, do you realize your mistake?" Jiang Fan, ready to return to his meal, frowned. "Another one. State your name before speaking." A nearby female disciple scolded, "Rude, this is our sect Master Peak's big senior brother, Wang Chengyan, senior brother Wang." So this was the big senior brother. Jiang Fan spoke neither humbly nor arrogantly. "Big senior brother asks well. When causing trouble, you didn't stop it. Do you realize your mistake?" The series of counter-questions made the disciples gasp, P greater than. As expected of being under senior sister Lu's protection. Daring to speak to the big senior brother like this. On some level, the big senior brother supervised the junior disciples on behalf of the master. He held great power. If other disciples dared to do this, they would have been punished on the spot. But Jiang Fan, Wang Chengyan feared his relationship with Lu Qingxian. Moreover, he himself was suspected of condoning the contention today. If things escalated, he couldn't escape punishment either. Wang Chengyan's eyes darkened slightly, then he slowly said, "Courageous." Jiang Fan cupped his hands and said plainly, "Thank you for the compliment, big senior brother." Wang Chengyan replied indifferently, "You're welcome, I hope you can perform as well as now in a few days' task. Otherwise, I don't mind making you clean the latrines." With that, he walked away with his hands behind his back. Jiang Fan shrugged indifferently and continued eating. In the shocked gazes of the disciples, he ate a total of 5 large bowls before he was finally full. Returning to his cave dwelling, Jiang Fan didn't idle. He took out several common spices, ground them into powder one by one, then sifted out the coarse particles. Finally, he blended the spices together and slowly roasted them over a small flame. By the next morning, he had a jade bottle in his hand. It contained half a bottle of clear liquid. "Let's test it." Jiang Fan went to the cliff on the eastern side of Sect Master Peak. The wolf-head bees hive was halfway down the cliff. Not to mention how fierce the wolf-head bees were. The act of climbing down itself was quite perilous. When he arrived, 3 other disciples tasked with collecting honey were helping to lower a rope, mining the hive below. After a long while, they finally climbed up, looking quite embarrassed. 2 were fine, their bodies wrapped tightly like 2 big bears. The wolf-head bees' poison needles couldn't pierce through their thick clothing. The other rotund disciple, the one who had called Jiang Fan for food, wasn't so lucky. His large belly had stretched his pants, exposing his skin. The wolf-head bees mercilessly stung him 49 times, causing his skin to swell with red bumps. He rolled on the ground in agony. "Ah, give me the pain-relieving pill," he cried, his head in his hands, doubting life from the pain. The other 2 disciples looked troubled. "We gave you the last of our pain-relieving pills last time." Upon hearing this, the rotund disciple let out a wail of despair. Jiang Fan's ears were nearly deafened. He acted decisively. punching him in the back of the head. The rotund disciple rolled his eyes and fainted. Pain-relieving pills don't work as well as this, Jiang Fan muttered. The two disciples were dumbfounded. But upon reflection, it was indeed effective. Simple and crude. And it saved on spirit pills. Seeing Jiang Fan there, the two disciples were surprised, his junior brother also tasked with collecting wolf head honey. Jiang Fan nodded, picking up a rope. I'll borrow your rope. Wait, junior brother. The two disciples shouted in unison. You can't go down. There's a problem in the hive right now. It's too dangerous for anyone to go. Chapter 98 Mysterious Spirit Beast. Unexpected change. Jiang Fan said in surprise, please, senior brothers, enlighten me. A disciple took off his thick clothing, showing a worried expression. We were just about to collect honey, but we found that a spirit beast had invaded the hive. It is devouring honey wildly, making the wolf head bees extremely agitated and attacking the spirit beast like crazy. When we went down, the wolf head bees mistook us for allies and attacked us crazily too. As he spoke, the disciple shook his clothes. Hundreds of bee stingers fell to the ground. One could see how frenzied the wolf head bees were at that moment. Junior brother, if you really want to go down, maybe try another day, the two disciples kindly reminded. Another day. Who knows how much honey would be left after the spirit beast had its fill. If he couldn't complete the task of 3 pounds, it would be a mission failure. He couldn't mess up his first task from his mentor. I'll go down and take a look, Jiang Fan said. Seeing that Jiang Fan didn't heed the advice, one of the disciples said, then wear my thick clothing. If you go down like this, you'll be stung to death. Jiang Fan shook his head, no need. Saying this, he grabbed the rope and began to climb down. The two disciples frowned. This junior brother Jiang, isn't he too overconfident? Let's wait here. It won't be long before he's screaming for help. In fact, Jiang Fan didn't need the rope. With his movement technique, he could travel the cliffs as if on flat ground. He just didn't want to worry the two senior brothers too much. Soon, he slid down to the middle of the cliff. Below was a bottomless abyss. Who knew what kind of spirit beast could climb so high to steal honey? From afar, he indeed saw a man-sized cave on the cliff. A large golden honeycomb protruded from the cave. Countless wolf-head bees were buzzing frantically, surging inside to attack something. At this moment, a wolf-head bee spotted Jiang Fan and instantly flew towards him, flapping its wings. Jiang Fan immediately opened the jade bottle he had prepared, releasing an incredibly intense fragrance. Once the wolf-head bee got close, it stopped attacking and started circling around him. As if it mistook Jiang Fan for a flower it could gather nectar from. There was no more hostility. Jiang Fan secretly thought that this method was indeed effective and continued sliding down to the cave with ease. When he looked inside, he was stunned. He saw a spirit beast the size of an orange cat with large, watery eyes, a black nose, and orange fur. It was leaning against the honeycomb, legs crossed. Each of its little paws held a piece of honeycomb dripping with honey. Taking a bite from the left, then a bite from the right. After eating half, it found the honeycomb too small and tossed it away, then picked a larger piece to continue munching happily. The ground was littered with discarded honeycombs. A rough estimate showed that the wasted honey alone was no less than 5 pounds. You spendthrift. Jiang Fan's forehead veins bulged. Luckily he came, otherwise, no amount of honey here would suffice for its squandering. The most annoying part was that it relied on its thick skin, making it impervious to the stings of the wolf-head bees. It even stuck out its tongue at the attacking wolf-head bees. The expression on its face was as irritating as it could be. You little rascal, get lost. Jiang Fan couldn't hold back and yelled. The little spirit beast finally noticed the intruder. Immediately, it dropped to all fours, tail high in the air, and its fur all bristled. It bared its teeth and let out a strange cry, showing no fear of people at all. Jiang Fan laughed and stepped forward to grab it by the neck and toss it out. Unexpectedly, it leapt at him with such speed that Jiang Fan almost didn't react in time. He quickly withdrew his hand, only to feel a burning sensation on his palm. Looking down, he saw 5 white, shallow scratches on the back of his hand. Oh, your claws are quite sharp, and your speed is incredible, Jiang Fan commented in surprise. If it weren't for his exceptional movement technique and having reached the copper skin iron bone realm, that claw would certainly have cut down to the bone. The little spirit beast seemed equally astonished. It even lifted its right paw in confusion, wondering if its claws weren't sharp enough. Little thing, you've met your match. Jiang Fan squinted his eyes and immediately used his movement technique. The little spirit beast was startled by Jiang Fan's agility. Its prized agility proved no advantage against him. And its sharp claws couldn't cause any harm. Within 7 or 8 rounds, it was pinned against the wall by Jiang Fan, who held it by the neck. Ordinary people really wouldn't stand a chance against you, Jiang Fan said, catching his breath. Without reaching the 7th or 8th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, one would likely suffer greatly against this little creature. And catching it would be even harder. The little spirit beast struggled defiantly, trying to scratch Jiang Fan with its claws. But its short legs were simply too short. It couldn't reach him no matter how hard it tried. Stay put for now, Jiang Fan said, tearing off some vines from the cliff face. He tied the little spirit beast up tightly into a ball and tossed it into a corner. Then he cheerfully started collecting honey. The wolf-head bees, attracted by the fragrance on Jiang Fan, did not attack him at all. They allowed him to take the honey freely. On the cliff above, the 2 disciples waited for a long time without feeling any movement on the rope. They couldn't help but worry. Could he have been stung to death before he could even scream? At that moment, the rope shook. The 2 disciples immediately ran over and pulled hard. Before long, they pulled Jiang Fan up. Seeing that he was unharmed, they were shocked. The wolf-head bees didn't sting you. Soon after, they noticed that Jiang Fan was carrying a large bundle of honeycombs. There was at least 4 pounds of honey inside. You collected so much. The wolf-head bees didn't attack you. Those wolf-head bees treat honey like a treasure. They sting fiercely if you take even a bit, let alone this much. Junior brother, you're incredible. Without saying a word, Jiang Fan divided a pound of honey for each of them. Take this to report back the day after tomorrow. The 2 disciples hesitated. How could we accept this? Jiang Fan said, we're all brothers in the sect, why not? There was still a lot left, he just couldn't carry it all. With grateful expressions, the 2 accepted. One of them lowered his voice, junior brother, a piece of advice. You only need to submit a pound of honey. The extra, sell it at the night market for a good price. We'll keep it a secret for you. After saying that, the 2 disciples mysteriously carried away the chubby disciple. Jiang Fan smiled to himself. After they left, he found a basket and quietly climbed down again. Not long after, he returned to his abode with 10 pounds of honey and the little spirit beast. Now the task is a sure thing, big senior brother can't find any fault, Jiang Fan said, throwing the honey aside. Turning to look at the little spirit beast, despite being tied up like a ball, it still glared fierily. Still so fierce. I'll deal with you later, he said. He found a chicken coop and tossed the little spirit beast inside. Unbeknownst to him, outside Green Cloud City, on a giant bird resembling a phoenix, stood several graceful figures. At the forefront was a woman in her 40s, but her appearance was well maintained as if she were in her 30s. Are you sure my spiritual pet has fled to Green Cloud City? The leading woman asked, none other than Gong Kai, the sect master of Spirit Beast Sect, one of the 9 great sects. This beast tide was caused by the herd searching for it, it must not be lost. A beautiful female disciple bowed, yes, I saw it sneak into Green Cloud City with my own eyes. Gong Kai nodded slowly. All right then, I'll use the excuse of observing the Green Cloud Sect's new disciples' ancestral ceremony to stay in Green Cloud Sect. You search for it secretly, it must be found. 2 days later, as the bell rang, the disciples of Sect Master Peak gathered in the main hall. Today was the day to report back. In the past, no one paid much attention because it was a routine matter. But today was different. Big senior brother had declared that if Jiang Fan didn't meet the standards, he would make him clean the latrine. Everyone eagerly awaited Jiang Fan's arrival. Chapter 99. You are cheating. Jiang Fan, who heard the bell, was also preparing to go out. Unexpectedly, Lu Qingxian knocked on the door stealthily. Jiang Fan, hurry up and open the door. Jiang Fan opened the door for her in surprise. Before he could ask anything, Lu Qingxian pulled him into the room. She looked him up and down and, finding that he was fine, finally breathed a sigh of relief. Good for you, you've got some brains. You didn't get yourself into trouble. She carefully took out a jade box and shoved it into Jiang Fan's arms. Take this. Jiang Fan looked down and was stunned. Wolf head honey. Senior sister, where did you get this? Leaning against the door, Lu Qingxian gave him a sidelong glance. Of course, it fell from the sky. Jiang Fan felt embarrassed. He remembered that the two senior brothers had said this item was very precious and could fetch a high price at the night market. He realized how Lu Qingxian might have obtained it. So why are you giving it to me? Jiang Fan asked in astonishment. He already had about 10 pounds of it in his basket. Lu Qingxian looked at him strangely, as if questioning his intelligence. Obviously, it's for you to complete your task. You think I'm giving it to you to eat? To complete my task? Jiang Fan suddenly felt the honey in his hands become heavy. Besides Xu Yining and Chen Silan, Lu Qingxian was the third woman to think of him. Thank you, senior sister, Jiang Fan said gratefully. Even though he didn't need it. But he felt that this 1 pound of honey was more precious than the 10 pounds in his basket. Lu Qingxian brushed it off. No choice, you're just unlucky. As soon as you took on the task of collecting honey, there was a mutation in the hive. Even the most experienced honey collector, Fatty Chen, was stung and is still unconscious. I was worried you would stubbornly go down there and get hurt, but seeing that you're fine, I'm relieved. Jiang Fan felt both amused and exasperated. Not only did he go down there, but he also brought back quite a lot of honey. Alright, hurry up and go to the main hall to report. This is your first time completing a task, and my father will be watching on site. Just take this honey and slap it in his face, let him underestimate you, humph. With a snort, she quietly slipped away. Jiang Fan murmured speechlessly, I don't have any problem with your father, but you seem to have one. Thinking it over, he decided to leave the honey Lu Qingxian gave him at home and keep it well preserved. He carried his basket to the front of the main hall. Dao Zhengjin, you collected 3 spirit ginsengs, far from the target of 10, so your score is, failing. The big senior brother, Wang Chengyan, was inspecting each disciple's task. Noticing that Dao Zhengjin had failed his task, he patted his shoulder comfortingly. It's your first time here, not knowing the growth conditions of spirit ginsengs and not completing the task is understandable. I won't punish you this time, try harder next time. Next, Jiang Fan arrived just in time and placed his basket in front of him. The numerous disciples instantly perked up. The main event is starting. Wasn't his task to collect honey? Why is he carrying a basket? Could it be he went herb gathering instead? If that's the case, the big senior brother will have an excuse. Seeing that it was Jiang Fan, Wang Chengyan's smile vanished, replaced by a stern look. Jiang Fan, do you remember your task? Jiang Fan replied calmly, I don't need a reminder from big senior brother. 3 days had passed. He was still so confrontational. Wang Chengyan squinted his eyes slightly and said, then remember, I told you that if you fail to complete the task, you'll have to clean all the toilets on Sect Master Peak. You haven't forgotten that, right? Jiang Fan frowned slightly. He wasn't like this to Dao Zhengjin just now, so why a different attitude towards him? He spoke bluntly. Didn't junior brother Dao also fail to complete his task? Why is big senior brother so understanding and lenient with him, but punishing me instead? Does this count as favoritism? The disciples looked at each other in astonishment. Wherever there are people, there are politics. Dao Zhengjin's family was wealthy, and privately gave many benefits to big senior brother, so he naturally favored him. But due to big senior brother's prestige, no one dared to speak up. Unexpectedly, Jiang Fan, the confrontational one, questioned it publicly. Wang Chengyan's expression turned stern. His peripheral vision glanced towards the main hall behind him. Lu Wuchen was watching in the main hall. He quickly defended himself, saying, Junior brother Dao is used to a pampered life, so I gave him some leeway. I didn't expect you to be so petty, so I'll handle this officially. Junior brother Dao, it's not that big senior brother doesn't take care of you, but as you can see, Jiang Fan wouldn't let me. So, you're assigned to clean the toilets too. Upon hearing this, Dao Zhengjin breathed heavily through his nostrils, glaring fiercely at Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan coldly glared back. What, do you have a problem? Dao Zhongjin recalled Jiang Fan's tough methods, shuddered, and hurriedly said, no problem, no problem. That encounter had left a deep impression on him. Wang Chengyan, showing contempt in his eyes, thought he was truly useless. He had intended to spark a conflict between Dao Zhongjin and Jiang Fan, but to his surprise, Dao Zhongjin had already been subdued. In the main hall, Lu Qingxian giggled, Father, did you see that? Jiang Fan managed to make your favorite disciple dare not express any anger. Lu Wuchen's cheek twitched. Damn it. Dao Zhongjin was a rare dual cultivation of body and magic genius, yet how could he be bullied by a guy with no spirit root? Don't get too pleased. I heard that the hive had an anomaly this time, even the expert collector Chen Dongsheng failed and was severely stung. Jiang Fan is completely unscathed and doesn't look like someone who's been to the hive. He might not be able to produce any honey later. Lu Wuchen gave Lu Qingxian a meaningful look. She felt a jolt of panic. Did her father find out about her buying honey secretly? But he'd been in seclusion for the past 2 days and hadn't left the mountain. At this moment, Wang Chengyan no longer wanted to waste words with Jiang Fan and said, is this fair now? Jiang Fan, satisfied, replied, that's more like it. He then kicked the basket towards him. Big senior brother, examine it yourself. Wang Chengyan glanced at the basket and said in a playful tone, before checking, I want to remind you of something. Such tasks are not to be falsified. Especially not purchasing the task items from elsewhere. Once exposed, it's far more serious than failing. In the main hall, Lu Qingxian panicked instantly. Wang Chengyan's deliberate mention of this must mean he knew something. She couldn't help but worry. Lu Wuchen glanced at her with a half smile. What, nervous? Lu Qingxian tried to maintain her composure. Who's nervous? Isn't it normal for Jiang Fan to collect honey with his skills? Lu Wuchen sipped his tea thoughtfully and said, a disciple reported to me. Last night's night market, a disciple, suspected to be from Sect Master Peak, secretly bought a pound of honey. That person, was it you? At this point, even a fool knew. Her secret help for Jiang Fan had likely been discovered by her father. Lu Wuchen didn't delve into it further, saying indifferently, have Jiang Fan admit his task failure himself. Consider it saving him some face. Go now. Lu Qingxian bit her red lips, reluctantly stepping out. If exposed for cheating, Jiang Fan would be taken by the reward and punishment hall, whipped publicly in the square 100 times as a deterrent. If that happened, he'd be utterly humiliated throughout the entire sect. Compared to that, cleaning toilets wasn't as bad. Though still embarrassing, it was only within their peak. Chapter 100. Not until one sees the coffin does one shed tears. Lu Qingxian, with an apologetic expression, approached Jiang Fan. Lowering her voice, she said, Jiang Fan, just admit defeat. Jiang Fan blinked. Why should he concede defeat out of nowhere? He shook his head and said, Senior sister, my task hasn't been inspected yet. Why should I admit defeat? Lu Qingxian couldn't help but blush and whispered, my father knows everything. There's no need to pretend anymore. Jiang Fan was a bit confused. What did he do that Lu Wuchen found out? At this moment, Wang Chengyan also spoke in a mocking tone, Jiang Fan, brother is giving you a chance, don't waste it. If you're really faking it, you'll be dragged to the square and humiliated, which will also tarnish the reputation of our sect Master Peak. It would be better to honestly clean the latrines. Utterly baffling. Jiang Fan gave him and Lu Qingxian a peculiar look and said, I don't understand what you're talking about. You should inspect my task first, and then we'll discuss other matters. Lu Qingxian was anxious for him. She had spelled it out clearly, there was no need to pretend anymore, and Jiang Fan still didn't get it. How could he be so slow? Wang Chengyan squinted his eyes and snorted, not shedding tears until you see the coffin, are you? Since you're determined to not admit defeat, I'll fulfill your wish. With that, he lifted the cloth on the basket. Underneath, there was only dry grass. On top of the dry grass lay a piece of honeycomb with fresh honey. Lu Qingxian didn't dare to look inside helplessly, it's over. Completely over. She felt utterly powerless. She had hoped that Jiang Fan could show off a little on his first task in front of her father, so he wouldn't underestimate Jiang Fan anymore. But things didn't go as she wished. Not only did Jiang Fan not get a chance to show off, but he also made a fool of himself. Wang Chengyan looked at the piece of honey with disdain in his heart. Such a stubborn person. This piece of honey was what he had sold. The moment Lu Qingxian asked him yesterday, he recognized her voice and guessed her purpose in buying it. Now, seeing the honey he sold appearing among Jiang Fan's task items, he couldn't help but find it amusing. But after a moment, he frowned. Why did it look slightly different than the piece he sold? Thinking it over, he guessed the reason and chuckled. You're not that dumb after all, knowing to cut the shape differently to avoid being recognized at a glance. However, your cleverness is misguided. This piece of honey you bought has special fluorescent powder on it. It will show under certain light. Jiang Fan finally understood what he was talking about. It turned out that Lu Qingxian's honey was known to them. They mistakenly thought the whole basket of honey was given by Lu Qingxian. You're overthinking it. Jiang Fan curled his lips and said, I collected this honey myself. And there's more under the basket. Before he could finish speaking, Wang Chengyan sneered, still denying it at the last moment. Then I'll reveal everything. Bring me an umbrella. A disciple immediately handed over a heavy oil paper umbrella. As he opened it, a large shadow covered the honey. Fellow junior brothers and sisters, bear witness with me to see if there's any fluorescence on this honey. If there is, it proves Jiang Fan bought it from the night market as his task item. If so, I, as a senior brother, will righteously drag him to the reward and punishment hall myself, no leniency. The many disciples exchanged glances. Is there even a need to check? Big senior brother had spoken so confidently, he must be absolutely certain. Otherwise, it would be like slapping his own face. Reluctantly, everyone looked over. Lu Qingxian fumed silently, realizing she had been set up by Wang Chengyan. There was no way to deny it now. Jiang Fan was destined to be sent to the reward and punishment hall. Wang Chengyan watched Jiang Fan's expression closely, anticipating the moment of exposure and what fear would look like on his face. However, he suddenly noticed a change in everyone's eyes. From resignation to confusion. Wang Chengyan instinctively looked at the honey under the shadow. It showed no sign of fluorescence. Not even a little. How could this be? Unconvinced, Wang Chengyan turned it over. The result was the same. Everyone was stunned. Where was the supposed fluorescence? Lu Qingxian was also stunned for a moment, then she exclaimed, who said Jiang Fan bought it? Without evidence, you can't slander someone. This honey was obviously collected by Jiang Fan himself. Isn't that right, Wang Chengyan? She was inwardly delighted. Although she didn't understand what had happened, Jiang Fan had been fortunate enough to escape this calamity. Wang Chengyan was deeply resentful. He had clearly sprinkled fluorescent powder on it, so how could none of it be visible? Could it be that Jiang Fan detected it and removed it in time? Thinking of the cut honeycomb, he became more certain. With a grim face, he snorted, consider yourself lucky. Jiang Fan, you've collected 1 pound of honey. Task accomplished, score, pass. In the grand hall, Lu Wuchen snorted, looking at Jiang Fan with even more disdain. A bit of cleverness, all used in crooked ways. He won't achieve much in the future. Lu Qingxian was secretly pleased. Although the pass wasn't glamorous, at least he wouldn't have to face the shame of cleaning the latrines. However, at this moment, Jiang Fan said, why the rush? Didn't I say earlier, there's more underneath? He had painstakingly carried 10 pounds of honey up here, only to get a passing grade. Lu Qingxian was stunned. Wang Chengyan was also dumbfounded. Even Lu Wuchen walked out of the grand hall in amazement and approached the basket. He uncovered the dry grass and indeed found there was another layer with 1 more pound of honey underneath. He exclaimed in surprise, Jiang Fan, isn't this honey something Lu Qingxian gave you? Based on Wang Chengyan's report, he had only sold 1 piece to Lu Qingxian. How did Jiang Fan bring out 2 pieces? Lu Qingxian also looked surprised. Junior brother Jiang, where did you get this honey? Jiang Fan said with exasperation, senior sister, the honey you gave me, I left it at home. I appreciate the gesture, but I completed the task myself. Everyone was suddenly enlightened. No wonder the honey didn't show any fluorescence. It turned out Jiang Fan used the honey he collected for the task. Everyone had misunderstood Jiang Fan. Lu Qingxian breathed a long sigh of relief, then felt proud of Jiang Fan. casting a sidelong glance at Lu Wuchen and said, "Junior brother Jiang, you have no idea how many people underestimate you." Lu Wuchen coughed awkwardly and patted Jiang Fan on the shoulder. The task was accomplished well. While others didn't dare to go, you collected £2 without a scratch. Awarding you an excellent score wouldn't be an exaggeration. As a reward for the excellent score, you won't have to undertake any tasks for the next month. Jiang Fan felt relieved. Great, he wouldn't have to see Wang Chengyan's face for a while. However, Wang Chengyan protested, "Master, the score should be based on task completion, not arbitrarily given. £2 only qualifies as a pass." That was true. No matter how difficult the task became, the original rules shouldn't be changed rashly. Lu Wuchen thought it over and agreed, "All right, let's follow the standard then." Jiang Fan frowned. "Wait, there's more honey below. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories. And never miss out on a great listen.